Well. Testing. Let me twist some knobs over here and dial in everything properly. Pretend like I'm a DJ. Okay. Welcome, guys. Happy Wednesday. 5th day of August. Ooh, my cat's already here. Wow, I just fed them. And they're, or at least one of them. Hold on. Let's get to... We got cat number 1 hanging out with us. Wow, look how majestic she looks. She is a queen. Royalty. Takes after me. Yo, we got BC in the chat. BC says, morning, sir. And gambling off on a... Ooh, well, you're still at 2 million PPs, my friend. BC, I did mention, I haven't lost track of it. I just haven't had time today. But I'll definitely be looking into gamifying the experience a bit more every so often. Thanks for... Have we reached a year? I forget what we were talking about before, but either way, thanks for being here. Much appreciated. My cat, thanks you for your service. Welcome, guys. I'm streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick as per usual. BC says Friday. Oh, is that the day? Friday is the day. Is that right? 11 months, 29 days, 55 minutes, 14 seconds. Hells yeah, man. It means a lot, so thank you. We are multi-streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. I guess it has been over a year that I started streaming. But yeah, my goal is to try to stream about 4 to 5 times a week anytime I'm home. And as of now, I have no plans on traveling. Most likely, I will not be traveling for the next 2 months, August, September. But I will be preparing for my trip in October back to Uganda. I'll be spending about 14 days there, I think, maybe a little bit longer. So yeah, I got a lot of preparation beforehand. And also, we're dealing with a lot of craziness in the world, both in terms of wars and also, you know, things like Ebola virus, which it sounds like Uganda has fully taken care of. But there's always weirdness when it comes to international travels and stuff to take care of. Anyways, who asked, really? We got Cats and Ellen Boggin in the chats. Who, let's see here. Oh, that's so cool. Yo, you were following me since May 8th. What a beautiful day to start following me, because that is my birthday. So, wow, what a meaningful day to have started watching my stream. For 2 months, 27 days, 23 hours, 9 minutes, and 12 seconds. That's kind of crazy. It tracks all the way to the seconds. BC said, we didn't celebrate the year. Sad. It's all good. I don't do any celebrations, to be honest with you. I don't even celebrate my birthday. I don't celebrate holidays. I'm just a geezer, man, with not a care in the world. The thing I do care about right now is my freaking flavored sparkling soda. So I realized I ran out of ginger ale and I ran out of the sparkling soda. So I quickly went and ordered some. It's supposed to arrive in... Now, the beauty of living in Dubai is the speed of the deliveries are insane. So hopefully I'll receive it in like 10 minutes, maybe sooner. And Cats and Ellen Bogus has been here for longer, but on YouTube. I was born May 1st. Hells yeah, May birthdays for the win. And thank you very much. If you follow me on multiple platforms, really, the math should be that it adds on top, right? So I will assume you followed me for 4 months, and BC, you followed me for 2 years. Anyways, thanks guys for being here. Today's gonna be a fun, chill stream. It is what, almost 7:30. Today was very productive, guys. I had a good time catching up on a few things. Oh, there's a lot of things, man. The tasks never seem to shorten. It's always like the list grows longer. But what really matters is my cat. Wow, look at her. Why does she look so adorable right now? Wait, is she sleeping in a weird way? Oh, I think it just looks like it on the camera. All right, well, we got Nala in the chat saying hello. And then Kimbap. Where's Kimbap? Do we see him on any of the cameras? I should set up a third camera. Where's Kimbap? Oh, Kimbap. Of course, when in doubt, he's over in the kitchen trying to... Oh, which reminds me... Okay, give me a second. Let me hide the food. We'll take care of it later. We'll keep an eye out for it. Okay, anyways, thanks guys. Today's gonna be an editing stream, you guessed it. As per usual, every day. This is why I stream. I try to be productive on these things, and we are almost at the tail end of my Uganda trip from this April. So without further ado, let me just hop over here so we can kind of start cracking through this. I am almost done with this country in terms of the project photos. Where are we? We got through some really cool shots the other day. I'm actually, this photo right here that I'm paused on. Whew, it's a good one. It's a good one. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And it was so good, I had to like try to play with a few different formats. So we've got, this is probably the main one. It's like a 16:9, captures everything as you would expect. Then I have one that punches in a bit. So I think this was the 2.39, 2.4:1 aspect ratio. So kind of punches in closer into the gorilla. This one I probably will not keep. I don't know. I guess when I compare it to the one previous. So let me go ahead and already just remove it. So I think we got option 1, which is 16:9. Option 2, punching in 2.4:1. And then option 3, punching in further in 16:9, but now framing the composition so that the gorilla is off to the left. And then we've got this, like, I don't know what you call this. There's something about this type of, I'm sure there's a name for this, when you get this kind of like soft reflection, like almost like this very damp, wet reflection, and where the lighting is super, super low. I don't know. I wish I could figure out what it is, because I really like this style of edit. If I can apply this to all my photos, I think I'd be very happy. It's very muted, low exposure, soft reflective, kind of a bouncing light off of the leaf here. So anyways, it focuses more closely into that particular subject with the gorilla. So those were probably the best ones I edited yesterday. But we also got through one of the gorilla shots with the mother and the baby. So I mentioned this edit, I wanted to make it a little bit more upbeat. So I tried to make the lighting a bit brighter to match the kind of almost like smile that's on the mother's face. So anyways, that was a kind of creative decision on that one. This was more kind of neutral, but when we have the strike, the eyes looking off to the left. And then this is the one we did on that first, this is the first of the series for the mother and baby. And so I did a punched in as well as one that's cropped out. But yeah, I think we've ended up with some wonderful gorilla shots. I am pleased because I had very little hope, if I'm being honest with you. After this session, I was also dealing with what I've mentioned before. I had this crazy bug. It feels, I don't even know how to, it feels weird to figure out what to say. I had this crazy incident with a beetle that basically burned the back of my neck, and it was getting worse and worse. So I was dealing with that during this gorilla trek. So I had a lot of things on my mind is what I'm trying to say. I was a bit distracted. Ooh, I think that's my drinks. Give me a second, guys. I'll be... Oh my God.
Man, it also came inside in my face. I ate some too.
Whew. Okay, it was recording. Oh man, a bit more sand than I expected. Hey, who needs breakfast, you know? Alright. After finding our ideal path and with a fair share of sand in our stomachs, we geared up for the main event. Demetrius took to dune bashing, pushing his car and perhaps his insurance policy to the upper limits, while I set up at a safe distance with my professional camera and iPhone. We probably could have called it a day after a few takes, but let's be honest, the kids in us could not resist the joy of spending an entire lazy afternoon in our own dusty playground, kicking up sand just because we can. Heavy rain, but we were hot on the trail of a lion couple spotted hunting in the area the previous evening, and our persistence paid off as they emerged from hiding to relax on the plains before, spoiler alert, they chose to come over and say hello. Here are those moments. Okay, there's one more delivery coming, but it's just a repeat of what I already got. Hells yeah. Got my little mixed sparkling soda with some juice. I'm happy. Okay. Feels good. All right, now let's get started. Where were we? Okay, so yeah, these are some of the photos that I had edited of the gorillas. I think they turned out quite nice. I'm very happy with it. Let me just get my hair out of the way. There we go. Cool. We're ready. Let's get this party started. All right, so this was the last photo we edited. Let me reset a few things. Oh, speak of the devil. All right, hold on. Be right back. You know what? I'll just leave it on this. Okay. Now we're ready. What do you think, Nala? She freaks out anytime the door opens, so she's all wide-eyed right now, that's why. Good girl. Good girl. Okay. No more interruptions. We got work to do. So, what's the next photo I need to edit? Let me just quickly check here. So I'm happy with this photo. These ones I've already done. Oh yeah, yes. This is the last photo we edited yesterday. I'm kind of happy with this one. This is going to kick off a new series of photo edits, aspect ratio. I might even turn this into a YouTube video once I make enough of a collection of this. But basically, we were talking about this on yesterday's stream. The thought occurred to me, especially with all these YouTube videos about Christopher Nolan, and we were watching Sinners behind the scenes, and they're talking about these aspect ratios and IMAX. So the thought occurred to me that why not, as a photographer, make a YouTube video where I do a photo montage, nothing crazy. It's just going to be a photo montage video, but have everything in the IMAX aspect ratio. And I'm sure there's some creative idea for like social media as well, where I could show an image and then like either zoom out or crop in to mimic like the, here's what you watch in a normal theater, and then here's the IMAX version. So anyways, some food for thought I got to figure out. Yo, we got Cat and Candle in the chat. Cat and Candle says, hey. Well, hey back at you. I appreciate you being here. We just kicked off the stream not too long ago. I'm about to start doing some photo edits. I was just kind of doing a recap of what we got done yesterday. Yo, we got Fedoreski in the chat as well. Fed says, howdy back at you, Fed. I saw your YouTube video as I was getting ready for today's stream, so we're gonna watch it today as well. But yeah, so I think this photo, it is, I googled this, but I think the IMAX 70mm aspect ratio is 1.43 by 1. So this is gonna be this new format. I'm gonna try to crop some of my photos in. And like I said, once we get enough of them, I'll turn it into a YouTube video. I'm sure I'm still toying with the idea, but I'm sure there's something creative with that. Like, I don't know how to title it, but it's something about like, see my photos in IMAX. Whatever. Okay, listen, that's not my best attempt. But yeah, basically I'll play around with some kind of creative titling about my photo montage, but in IMAX form. And this photo turned out pretty good for that concept. So yeah, you can see here it's the term pillar boxing. So we've done the pillar boxing here, but yeah, it's kind of cool. So this is going to be a new thing we'll keep testing out. Anyways, that was the last photo I edited yesterday. So we're going to edit starting from one of these shots here of the Ranger. Let me first kind of pick which of these photos to edit. I have one shot where it looks like he's looking at the camera. But usually I don't like when the subject is looking straight on. So let's see. This one's a little bit better. We have him shifted a little bit more to the right. He's looking a little bit to the left. Slightly more in focus, which is good. Nothing is overexposed. This one could be interesting looking off to the right if I do a bit of a cropping, you know, just placing him off to the left side. Actually, this could be nice because then in the foreground we get all this grass that covers up the right part of the image. So this might be the contender, actually. So let me just zoom back out. And then what's the last one? Just looking more off to the right. This is probably too extreme of an angle. So I think we're going to go with either... Let's go with this one. Yeah, because I think this one might be a bit too boring. He's looking off to the left, but there's all this emptiness to the left. So I don't think it's going to add much to the image anyways. All right, so... We'll edit this one, and then let's take a look at what YouTube videos are on the docket. We got Fedorowski's. Fed, since you're here, let's go ahead and start off with your video. The Molino Park Mark II. We're gonna take on the product lingo. So this is Molino Park Mark II. From Costa Blanca. Costa Blanca. Okay. Then what's after that? Another variety video, how the Severance editor cut the finale like a music video. I am getting more and more fascinated with these types of behind the scenes. So yeah, I think yesterday's stream was really fun in terms of the videos we were breaking down. I think it was Sinners with Ryan Coogler, and then what was the cinematographer's name? It was like August de Arma. I don't remember. No, that's someone else. But anyways, it was fascinating. I learned a lot. The Ryan Coogler video was really insightful. He was breaking down all the different aspect ratios and how film projectors work and all that. Okay, so we got that one.
Hi there,
Hi there. We got an Insider's Film School video, the Media Insider, how to analyze cinematography. Interesting. Okay. Again, I want to keep learning the craft, the art of cinematography. So wish me luck that I retain some information from it. There's, I don't know who this creator is, Ryan Booth. It came up on my YouTube feed. It's called Nixon 5 Glimpses, a street film. I think that's kind of cool. I like when creators do stuff like this. It feels very artsy, but also fairly relevant because the basketball finals, NBA championships was not too long ago. I'm curious what he filmed this with. Let's see here. I grabbed my... Okay, so we're going to read all this later. But yeah, anyways, I wanted to check this out because yet again, it's another video that seems to be filmed in a super tall aspect ratio, at least from the opening shot. And it looks very filmic and like artsy, and it's like a street film. So this is one of those art crafts? It's one of those crafts that I would like to learn, especially on my, upcoming travels, how to film urban environments, random moments in time, and try to capture it in a way that's very artistic that I can turn into videos. So anyways, we got that lined up. What is this? James Popsis, why I almost always shoot in the harsh midday sun. Yo, you piqued my interest with that one because I can't for the life of me wonder why I would ever want to do that. So he must have a certain style of how he photographs or films or whatever he's going to talk about. Very, not controversial, but it's a very clickbaity title, or a very intriguing title at the very least. So caught my attention. I thought I'd take a gander and see if I can get some inspiration from this video for stuff I should do.
You might want to...
I might want, I don't know. Video called The Focal Length and Lenses Used by Great Directors. Why not? Again, it's like I'm going back, not going back. It's like I'm going back in time to enter film school. And that's the beauty of YouTube and the internet and all that, it's like, we don't have to just think about schooling as a 4-year thing from the past. Oh, and then this is the video we were watching yesterday, but we didn't finish it, I guess. But it's Ben Stiller and Adam Scott breaking down the opening of Severance Season 2. So that was quite fun. And then these are all, I don't know if we'll get to these, but some Christopher Nolan stuff. Kodak released a new film stock. This one might just be a soundtrack. I'm not sure if we can play that or not. Some beautiful footage with the Sony FX5 apparently, but I mentioned it's in Japan, so of course everything always looks good in Japan. But even this thumbnail or this opening image shot is really creative, and there's something there that I might want to take forward for my own videos. I haven't done too many of these like big ass fonts and everything, but when you have if you're visiting a country where they have their own language, or what do you call it, like their own alphabet, I can see how mixing the two makes it look super cool. So anyways, we got that. And I liked, yeah, it's very creative how they overlaid the coloring there. Why horror is the last real genre left. I really wanted to get to this video. We never did. So I'll kind of float it towards the beginning somewhere. And then where do you put the camera? Where do you put, I don't know. Every frame of painting. I've heard good things about this YouTube channel. So yeah, we got a full docket of interesting concepts, YouTube videos and stuff to watch. So Fed says, I like shooting in midday sun, but it's costly. All that sunscreen lotion. I mean, it's got to be very, what's the word I'm looking about? I'm not sure. I guess it depends on what you shoot, right? Because in general, I would assume that midday is usually the worst time. You know, getting that super harsh lighting. You don't get that. You get kind of like a flat imagery because the sun is there. You don't get any interesting shadows. So I don't know. It's harder. I can see in a way. I could see shooting in harsh midday. Some people finding value in it because of the challenge. That I can understand. So in the same way we talk about shooting with a fixed, like a prime lens, or, you know, shooting with like a cheaper camera body and stuff like that, it forces you to have to, you know, understand the techniques better, the technology better, all of that. So maybe it makes you a better photographer. But if I had a preference, would I want to? Hells no. Anyways. Ooh, delicious. All right. Let's start off with Mr. Fedorevsky. Depends on what you are looking, what you are after. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm curious what he's gonna say in his video. All right. Shooting with only a 40mm, for example, can be fun. Yeah. I don't know. I still prefer, I mean, who in their right mind would prefer harsh midday over golden hour? Or the term that we learned recently, magic hour. Anyways, let's go ahead and watch this. Let me pause this. Let me make sure everything else is good. Give me a second. Here, I'll put it on my cat. Look at her. Look at this adorable beast. Okay, so as I edit, as I mentioned before, I am recording every one of my editing sessions. I've already got the format down for now until I make changes. So I just got to make sure that, oops, the recording is actually running. Okay. Let's minimize that. And let's go ahead and test it out. Give me a second. Boom. All right, it's working. All right, so shout out to Fedorevsky. Let's check this out in, what was the place? Molino Park. How's the volume on this? Is it too loud? Or is that just on my end? Yo, long hair. It's so annoying. There we go. Fed says 40 or really 42.5 is basically human vision with no or very little distortion. So it's a fun walk around lens. Gotcha. Is that the lens? Is this, what lens did you shoot for this one? Is it the same? Is it the 40? Is that what you're talking about? Hold on. So one annoying thing here is I've got this random tree, this just kind of sticking vertically up there, cutting off a little bit of the guy. It's not the worst thing. It's showing the dense foliage. It's just aesthetically, I got to figure out, do I want it in the shot or not? Fed says, no, this is the 18 of 140 DX. It's the only lens I brought with me. Gotcha. So same trip, single lens. It's a very clean image. Ooh, I like the title sequence there. Good music choice as well. I think for this one, I will keep it. We're going to try out the IMAX. We're going to do the IMAX aspect ratio. Reason being, I don't want to cut off part of the leg here, because one of the interesting things about this shot is you can actually see the guy with his, I believe they walk around with AK-47s, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't want to cut that off by doing too wide of an angle. Just, adds a little bit to the intrigue of who is this man, with all his armament. Clean, but it has some fun barrel distortion at certain ranges. Interesting. Okay, I think this is fine. I'm not going to spend too much time. It's just a normal shot. Let's hopefully I'll find a preset that just clicks. This is Fed. This is Spain, yeah? Did that influence your soundtrack decisions, I guess? You see the distortion in the wide shots. Okay. I mean, on the screen, I can't really make anything out negatively. I don't seem to see any distortion. But I'm also like multitasking, so I might be missing it. Ooh, one personal feedback I had. So I got to rewatch. I've been watching my own, the latest video, right? My episode 2 of my travel series. So I watched it with headphones on. I watched it on my TV screen and on my mobile. And one thing I noticed, which I'll have to take into consideration for the next episodes and just going forward, I think I rushed a bit on the sound mixing. For a few of the soundtracks, I felt that it was too quiet. Maybe at least one soundtrack. I'm not sure if there are 2 moments. There's like one particular moment where, in hindsight, it sounded great through my headphones, but then when it plays through like TV speakers or my phone speakers, I felt that it was too quiet. So I'm gonna have to keep that in mind. So yeah, that was just, sorry, I just want to say it out loud so I kind of talk through it. So in the future episodes, I'll need to make sure to lift the volume of the soundtrack a bit more when I'm talking. I think I just had it dropped a bit too much. Fed says, you see the distortion in the white shots, you notice it most on straight lines and pans. Yeah, I was looking at the edges and I didn't notice it on the previous shot. Maybe a little bit more here. We'll see. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Cat time. Oh, this looks good. Ooh. Side note, I love where my mind wanders because it makes no sense. I started watching Mobland season 1. I don't know if there's a second season, but started watching Mobland. Very good. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I give it a solid 7.5 or 8 out of 10 currently in terms of the show, but you know, I'm just a big Tom Hardy fan, so I think that's also what helps with that decision. Fed says, yeah, I always listen back in headphones and then also on the Dolby Atmos with sound. Always a good rule to have. Yeah. I did rush through that video just because it took me so much time editing, and I just wanted to get it out there as soon as possible. So I was a little bit behind on schedule, so I didn't do my usual task of like really thoroughly reviewing the video in different formats before publishing it. So, I mean, I'm not like complaining. It's such a minor thing, but I was like, oh, you know, if I could have done it again, I think I would have lifted the volume a bit more. But yeah, anyways, Mobland is pretty good. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. The one thing I don't like so far, I'm sure there's other things, but if I were to critique it, I feel like some of the characters feel too on the nose, if that makes sense. I feel like they're too extreme of a character. Like they're playing a version that just feels so one what's the word I'm like, one-sided? Is that right? Yeah, it just feels a little bit like they're exaggerating the roles of certain characters to the point of like, man, who really acts this way? But it's like a minor thing because obviously it's a TV show. It's meant to like showcase all kinds of extreme characters, but yeah. Okay, I like this a lot. Fed says, yeah, we're always our own worst critic with details like that. People watching don't tend to notice details like that. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I'm here to learn, right? So I'm not necessarily here to just, you know, coast by doing the same kind of stuff all the time. So that was one little thing. I was like, okay. And I did mention before, sound design is probably my worst. That's my weakest development area so far. All right, this photo turned out better than expected. Okay, my current struggle here is I want to shape the light to be coming from the top right. However, I don't want the light to be lifting the shadows of the foreground, because then it feels less real. But I can't detect the foliage in the foreground. So I think my new strategy is, I think what I'll do is I'll create a radial gradient and try to map it to this kind of opening here. I hope this will work. So what if I do something like this to kind of catch in between? And then I need to subtract from this masking. What's the best way to do this? Is there a way to mask? What if I do something like, can I invert this? Come on. Is there a way to invert? There we go. Okay, hold on. Am I even doing anything? Oh wait, no. Okay, maybe I don't invert. There we go. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. So I'll minus out this like that. So it won't be perfect, but it'll at least kind of try to catch or remove a little bit of foliage there. And then let's do one more subtract. I guess I'll do the same thing. Radial gradient, and I'll do it on this side. I don't know if this will work. Something like this. Okay. And then I'll do the same thing if I lift the blacks, remove the contrast. Okay. Yeah, it's much better. Although I think I wanted to go a little bit further off that way. So now what do I do? Let's take this and stretch it. Widen it a bit. Okay, let me just look at my thumbnail until it looks decent. Okay, I think this is good. Did it work? Let's see. So then this is the before and after. So this is what I had before, and then here's after. Before, after. It's catching a little bit here still, so let me see if I can fix that. All right, so I missed a spot, yeah? What's the best way to do this? Subtract. No, I want the opposite, so if I do invert. Then the only issue is cutting off that side, yeah? Something like this. No, I think I made it worse. Subtract. Here, let me just do a linear gradient. Okay. I think this is better. Let's find out. So here's before and then after. Before, after. Yeah, you know what? I think I like this. We're keeping it. And I'll just adjust a little bit on the side here, but I said I was going to do a quick edit on this one, and of course I never follow my own rules. It is what it is. There we go. Boom. Man, Fedorevsky. I'm curious, how are you keeping track how many cats you have filmed in your time in Spain? It's got to be quite a lot at this point, yeah? Probably hundreds. Yeah. Okay, so here's the before and after. So this is the original shot in IMAX, by the way. So we got that 1.43 by 1 aspect ratio. And then from this, we turned it into this. Add some color, some nice texture to it, a bit of light shaping from the top of the canopy. This turned out way better than I expected. This is like, honestly, man, shout out to Dehancer, because it's definitely given a new, it's like breathed new light. No, sorry, that's not the phrase. Breathed new life. Why is that so hard to say? It breathed new life into my enjoyment of photo editing. For sure. Because, like, you know, it's like even a shot like this, there's nothing wrong with this shot by any means. I think, you know, it's unedited, but it's a nice moment. And when I put it through my edits, I do make it, in my opinion, I make it my own. It looks great. But then once I put it through the Dehancer treatment, that's when it's like, yo, we got something here. We got something, you know? Cyronius says, yo, shout out to you, man. How's it going, Cyronius? Happy whatever today is, Wednesday. I hope you're having a good time. Are you doing a photo walk on the weekends? That's usually when you do it, is that right? And how's the rig? Let me know, by the way, if you're free on the weekend sometime. We can catch up. I'm trying to spend this weekend to kind of start putting the pieces together, start preparing for the November trip. But yeah, hope you're doing well, man. You just caught me editing my first photo for the day. Did we edit? Yeah, this is the first photo we've edited, so taking my time. Sweet ass time. Just the PT at the moment. What is that? Physical therapy? I'll be free this weekend. Gotcha. Okay, cool. I'll look to find some time for us. PT. What is that? I only know PT as physical therapy. If it's physical therapy, I hope you're doing okay, man. Maybe it's all that camera gear you're walking around Fed says, interestingly, IMAX 1.43 to 1 is pretty close to original TV 133 to 1. I never heard of this 133. Like I said, my knowledge of aspect ratios is literally, I'm like a baby here. I just learned. I'm day one, newborn. That Ryan Coogler video yesterday that I was watching, though, that was like super helpful. But then I didn't see him mention the 2.39 by 1 aspect ratio that I thought was like a common one. But yeah. But yeah, this aspect ratio is growing on me. You know, it seems like everyone and their mothers are posting in this huge open sensor, open gate style concept. So we can mimic it here. Cyrene says, physical therapy, just still keeping up with it after my car accident last year. Oh yeah, you did mention that before. That's crazy, man. Hopefully it's going well. Hopefully you're feeling some level of improvement there. That's all you can hope for, you know, just day by day. All right, we're moving on to the next photo here. Let's keep watching. Again, shout out Fedoreski for this video. All right, let me figure out which of these gorilla shots we want to work on. Okay, this one's more focused, or more sharp. Ooh, I like this pose. Okay, so we're gonna do this one. Fed says 133 to 1 was TV before 16:9 became the new standard. Interesting. Wait, okay, hold on. Let me check out. What does a 1331 look like? Do I have that anywhere? No. Okay, so custom, enter custom. 1.33. Really? This was the standard on TV before? That's so crazy. So you're telling me like people used to watch this like that. So TV was always in this kind of big ass style. And then at some point, just like that, like whoever made the decision, you're saying they just decided, hey, you know, what if instead of doing that, why don't we just go like, you know? So they went from like, hey, this is how we watch TV, to all of a sudden, we're going to reshape everything. We're going to make monitors, TV sizes, everything to fit this kind of format. Really? Huh. Interesting. Interesting. We're learning. We're always learning, okay? I think I won't edit this one because I think we've already marked which ones. We've got this one where it feels more interesting just because of the facial expression here. Whereas this one, he's kind of looking, but is also partially blocked off. And also, man, my dude's got a cone head because of the foliage. So, I don't know. I'm feeling like maybe editing this one first. And then we're going to edit one of these mouth yawning shots. So let's work on this one here. I don't need like the one looking straight at the camera for this particular angle. IMAX also has 1.9, which is pretty close to 17 to 9, which is Cine 4K. 17 to 9. I think, do I have that aspect ratio? Hold on. 17:9. What's the math on that? 17:9. How do I do this? 17. Is it just 17 divided by 9? 1.8. It's a 1.89 by 1, I think, if I'm doing the calculation correctly. So the closest thing I have here is the 1.91. Okay. Which is, what is a 1.9 by 1? Because the two that I've been playing with the most so far is the 16 by 5 and then this 1.91 by 1, which I thought I got from somewhere. I just don't remember where. So, yo, we got Peter in the chat. It was a new format then? Gotcha. Peter, how's it going? I think I saw a notification. You might have, I hope I responded, but, or if I haven't, I'm going to, but thank you for watching my video. I think I saw you had popped in a nice comment over on YouTube. So I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, and then I'm working on the next episode, so I hope you enjoy that as well. You know, it is what it is. We never stop. You're catching me as I've started the stream. I've only edited one photo so far, but I hope you enjoyed this one. I didn't expect this photo to turn out as good as it did. You can see the before and after here. Hold on. Actually, let's show all 3 steps. So this is the before shot. I have cropped it into an IMAX aspect ratio. This is a new thing I'm going to try to do. I'm going to make a YouTube video about this. I'm going to make a photo montage on YouTube, all shot in IMAX. That's going to be the clickbait. But shot in the IMAX aspect ratio, of course. So this is the original photo with the IMAX cropping. Then this was my edits within Lightroom. I just used my presets. Initially I thought I wouldn't spend too much time on this photo, and of course I did. But this is with my presets, and then I put it through Dehancer to breathe life into the image, as I was saying. And I like this quite a bit. Very moody, very something. I don't know. So, one photo down. Let's keep on working. We got to work on this gorilla shot. Fed says hi to Peter, and Peter says, my wife is a big fan of these live series with editing live. Ooh, thank you. Well, we'll tell your wife I said thanks. I hope she's enjoying. You know, sometimes I don't talk during these sessions, though. It just depends on the moment. I'll try my best to like kind of break down, because I'm watching YouTube videos at the same time. So my current workflow in my mind is that most of the times I'll just be editing on my own while we're watching a YouTube video. But then I will either at different moments or definitely towards the end, I'll recap the kind of thought process behind why I chose to do this cropping, why I chose to go with this decision, blah, blah, blah. So, and then hopefully, you know, if anyone's watching and wants to interrupt and ask me questions, I'm always happy for that too. Peter asks, what is Dehancer? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I need more ammo to show Dehancer why they should work with me. So, I mean, they already have worked with me in the sense that they provided me access to Dehancer to test out. So shout out to them. I made a video about Dehancer, was it end of last year? Or it was sometime this year, I think. So Peter, if you're interested, actually, let me see if I can find it for you. And then besides watching that video, because that video is focused on how I use Dehancer for my video editing, one extra thing that I've been enjoying about Dehancer recently is their plugin for when I edit my photos. And Fed said it in the chat perfectly, but basically it emulates that kind of film camera style, you know? And I don't know enough about film stuff to really give some examples of it, but like the Kodak 2383 look, or the Fujifilm something, you name it. The Konica Minolta, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So give me a second. Let me find the video for you. Oh, there's a search bar on my YouTube channel. I can search words. No shot. I didn't know that. Okay. Peter, I'm going to put this in the YouTube chat. Feel free to check it out if you have some time. I forget how long the video is. It's not too long, but it's just I make a nice little cinematic opening to show you a number of my travel footage, which I then color graded, and I did everything. I did the color correction edits and the color grading, all with just Dehancer, to test out how good is Dehancer for my workflow. I ended up loving it so much that since I got access to Dehancer, every one of my film projects, every one of my YouTube videos, I put it through Dehancer. It's a part of my actual project. It's a part of my power grade template over on DaVinci. With that said, right now the focus is on the photos. And so every one of my photos you'll see me editing, it has been put through Dehancer. So like I just said, this is a good example of it, where previously this is the format what you see right now on screen, this is what I edited within my own presets, within my own edit style in Lightroom. And then there's a plugin to Lightroom and all the other editing software where you can hop over to Dehancer. And there I just played around with the settings. I played around with the different film emulated looks until I got something that I like. And so you're seeing here the final result of that. And then I bring it back into Lightroom. I did a few more things within Lightroom again for like the finishing touch, and voila, there you go. So yeah, hope you enjoy. And yeah, you'll see me using it. If you like Dehancer, I do have a promotional code, I think, for Dehancer. Let me double check. !Dehancer. Yes, you can get 10% off using YobelPrize. So if you'd like to support the channel, because obviously that helps me build a relationship with Dehancer and, make some money, feel free to use that promo code if you end up deciding you want to give it a shot. But I definitely stand by it. I hope you guys believe everything I say, or I hope you guys understand that I am very passionate and I'm a strong believer in the things that I believe in, if that makes sense. And I am a fanatic of Dehancer right now. So, and this is kind of what's been fun about doing these live streams and doing like these edits live, is you actually see the proof in the pudding, right? It's not me just like bullshitting and saying like, oh yeah, of course, use this product or that. I hope you can see me and like the creative process that I go through, the thought process, but then also see the tools that I'm using to shape my final results. So yeah. So thank your wife again. I appreciate that she's enjoying this kind of stuff. One thing I mentioned I'm working on behind the scenes is I'm recording each of these editing sessions, and then I'm gonna I have already 20 streams that I've done this on. So I've got a number of photos that I've recorded the entire workflow in a vertical format. And so very soon I'm hoping I can turn this into like YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. So then it becomes a way to promote that I'm doing these types of edits on a live stream and make some fun content out of it and show the before and after. So, by the end of it, you see the final image. All right. Anyways, I've been yapping quite a bit. Let's finish this video from Fedorevsky and let's work on this photo here. Now, since to keep talking more, one thing I mentioned is usually when I'm editing photos, one of the first steps I do, it's either one of the first steps or it's one of the last steps, is playing around with the aspect ratios. So I'll go into Lightroom and I'll start like playing around with different croppings. So in this case, it's a vertical shot already, so I'm a little bit more restricted in terms of what I might want to do. But I'll just kind of do this. I'll look at the thumbnail over here in the navigator panel to get a quick snapshot of how it looks. So then I kind of just play around with it until I think I have something that feels good. And then this is where you can be more creative, right? So, it's like there's no harm in just seeing anything, because you're not sticking to whatever decision you make here. So I can go all the way punched in just to see like, hey, what does the shot look like if I were to crop in wide angle on just the eyes, and there's something there actually. It's not actually a bad composition. I probably won't do it though, but you can see, you can have some fun. And like I said, one thing I'm playing around with is the IMAX cropping. So trying to see if I can turn some of my images into an IMAX viewing. So we got this 1.43 by 1, or even just like the typical 16 by 9. So yeah, I usually do this towards the beginning of my workflow. So I kind of can set in my mind, is there a creative vision I can take forward? And not always will I have the answer right away. So if I don't have the answer right away, sometimes I don't crop at all and I just edit as is until the final stage. But this one I probably can crop. Actually, we'll probably crop at the end because it's not going to make that much of a difference depending on where I cut out. And I prefer having the entire canvas with my color grades, and then I can always play with the cropping later. So we'll keep this one as is. Actually, the only thing I'll change is just a little yeah, you know what, we're gonna keep it as is. We'll do it as a final step. And the reason also is because this is a vertical shot, so not to prioritize too much, but if I'm gonna turn these into Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, it behooves me to find any of the vertically framed images because they can take up the full phone screen. You know what I mean? So as like the final reveal, I could actually show that in the full screen mode. So, okay, we'll keep this. And then another quick little tip, I usually just have when I click on my photo, it'll automatically default to zooming in to 100%. So this is just kind of my way to see at the maximum, right? How much can I zoom in, or AKA like crop into my image without necessarily worrying about distorting or like not having enough resolution to get a clean capture. So the 100% zoom in allows me to kind of see at maximum how much can I punch in on the image. And then if I want to punch in more, I can, but I do so at my own risk, knowing that we're going to lose a bit of that resolution the further we punch in. So anyways, another little thing. And I'm just going through some of my presets to kind of see if something stands out to me. There's a few that definitely works, but I like to try to go through as much of it as possible. Fed, I like the the leading lines. Okay, I think I'm going to stick to this preset as the baseline. Katzenell and Bogus says, I just got blocked by a photographer. Well, damn, what'd you do? He posted photos of an event we were at yesterday. I replied in the comments with the photo I took of a lady. She dropped her cards and I want to give them back. But my comment got more likes on it than the post itself. Since I used an A9 Mark III and 300mm f2.8, now I can't find the lady since he knows her. I feel so bad. And there are 2 terabyte type A cards. These are 2 type. Interesting. Wait, hold on. I'm trying to let me grasp your story a bit more because it got split into 2 messages. So I just gotta. So basically, you're saying a photographer got jealous, or he posted some images on social media, and then you posted a photo in the photos comments, and that photo you took with your fancy camera and your fancy technique, and that photo looks so nice. And even though you put that photo in the comments to, identify the lady because she was missing her expensive ass 2 terabyte memory cards, the photographer blocked you for that. Okay. There's one thing. It's not easy for most people, especially in the age of social media and stuff, but it behooves everyone to try not to care so much about things like that. There's like a level of insecurity that is natural to all of us when it comes to like, okay, we don't like to be shown up by someone else. But if it's not intentional, then that's a complete, I could understand if, like, let's say I post something on social media. Let's say I post this image of a gorilla here, and then someone in the comments of that post posts their own image of a gorilla just to be like, hey, look at my photo. I could understand why that would be like, hey, this is not your post. What are you doing? Hop onto my thing. It's like my, it's my content, my art, how I want to post it. So that I can understand. If someone's doing it just to kind of like, it's almost like spamming and leeching, I guess. But if you, like you said, your reasoning was because you're like, hey, can you figure out who this lady is? That's like a very benign. Is that the word? That's like a normal reason to just be like, hey, I got this photo of this person. Do you happen to know them? But yeah, listen, insecurities, what can you do? We all live with it. You got to find a way to defeat it somehow. But hopefully you should be able to defeat this feeling of like, I'm not getting enough likes on this, therefore X. Fed says that's a lot of money to drop. Yeah. Katzenellen Boggin says, crazy dude, cards are very expensive. How am I going to give them back? I had not. I didn't have ill intentions. Well, listen, I don't know your situation. So if there's no normal way to return it, I guess it's yours now. All you can do is try. So, but thanks for sharing that story. That's quite interesting. It's unfortunate, but what can you do? I usually don't like the purple coloring on the gorillas on a lot of these shots. So I tend to try to see if I can scale back the purple just a bit. It doesn't look too bad on this one, to be honest, but like generally speaking, I still kind of prefer, like when I think of the chimps and the gorillas, I usually just kind of visualize them as more black and white. But the way the light plays with their, the dark skin and their hair, it tends to create this like purple, like a purplish haze to the shots. So I'm going to drop that a bit. Fed says he just wants to give the lady back her 2 terabyte C Express Type A cards. Yeah, exactly. That's really? Okay, I think this is good enough. I'm not going to go too crazy with this gorilla. It's not my hero image. It's just a nice one to play with. All right, shout out to Fedorevsky. Thank you very much for another amazing video. Hells yeah. Shot with ZR, yeah? Real life, isn't it more whitish blue? Man, my memory's not good enough to like think off the bat. What color are they? No, I mean, they are a bit purplish. It just depends on the lighting conditions. But like, I think it's in the same way. If you were to look at my, if you look at my hair, because I've noticed it before, like, my hair is black, right? But just the way the black it reacts to the lighting. Sometimes it can look very purplish. I've noticed that, you know, growing up, not that I pay attention these days, but you would get like this kind of purple halo effect around your black hair. So with the chimps, it's no different, where it's like, since they're all black fur and like a kind of like whatever tough skin and everything, the light bounces off and kind of makes it a bit purplish at times. I was going to delete the comment after he replied, so I don't get why he would do that. I could send him a DM. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's up to you. You're just trying to do a nice thing. I would assume the lady who dropped the 2 terabytes, it's what I would do, because now I'm a little bit, I feel like that dude is a bit shady in my mind, again, for blocking your whatever comment. If you still have access to DM that person, just be like, hey, I didn't mean to offend or anything, but if you happen to know this lady, could you provide me at this point? Because like, man, he could be someone who decides to keep it for himself. So it's better to just be like, either if that guy responds and gives you the contact of the lady, then you can just directly message and let them know. Otherwise, just hold on to it and it's yours. Fed says black hair can take on a lot of colors. Unless they contact you, there's not much you can do about it. Yeah, exactly. Or another thing you could do is speak to the venue. So wherever this event was, you can call that venue and let them know that you, you know, someone left something and you picked it up. And then if that lady calls the venue, because that might be like, if I lost a 2 terabyte card, one of the most instinctive things I would do is probably call the venue that I was at, just to be like, hey, did anyone, you know, like a lost and found type thing, did anyone drop off a memory card I left there in the premises? So that's actually probably the most practical thing you do. Forget that dude and just call the venue.
Start earlier.
All right, what is this video? How the Severance editor cut the finale like a music video. Oh yeah, let's watch this one. I've been holding on to this for a few days. It was a government event for an opening of a new hospital. Yeah, my point still stands. I would say contact the hospital. So I'm assuming the hospital was the venue. So then just call them or email, I don't know, and just be like, hey, I picked something up. Someone dropped something. If someone contacts or someone happens to reach out asking about this item, just let me know. I have it. All right, we're going to watch this video. Why horror, I hate that word because I can never pronounce it. Why horror is the last real genre left. All right. Impress me, Mr. Thomas Flight.
Horror has been having a moment. While original films in every other genre have almost completely disappeared from the top box office slots, horror is bigger than ever. People go in droves to join the ritual of sitting in a dark room with strangers to face their fears. You're scaring me! So far this year, the only completely original live-action movie in the box office top 10 is Obsession, which exploded out of nowhere thanks to word of mouth. Last year, the only original film in the box office top 10 was the action horror movie Sinners. To find another original, you have to go all the way down to number 16, where you'll find Weapons, also a horror film. But if we rewind to 1997, you'll find the box office top 10 full of original genre movies like the comedy Liar Liar, the romance My Best Friend's Wedding, and the action film Air Force One.
Never
In the
seen
top
that.
20 that year, we also had Contact, an original sci-fi, the sports drama Jerry Maguire, the thriller Conspiracy Theory, and the action movies Face Off and Con Air. But over the last 30 years, the original genre film has been slowly...
I don't think I've seen that camera angle before of Thomas Flight.
But over the last...
I need to keep this in mind. I keep saying this for myself, but I need to also try this type of stuff. Just in random videos, I might see if I can reposition my camera just for fun, but test out different camera angles from my my home studio. Fed says there definitely could be some sort of lost and found. Maybe call up the main desk at the hospital. Yeah, the lady might have already been there or called them about it. So if you leave your name or leave the cards with them, it could possibly be fixed. Yeah, I think that Katzenella, I think honestly that's the best. Probably the only step you should consider taking is just call the venue, let them know, and then you sit and wait. Let's call it after, I don't know, X amount of days or weeks or whatever, months. If nobody claims it, it's yours.
30 years, the original genre film has been slowly
I don't make the rules.
killed
That's just
off,
what it is.
with one notable exception.
Horror.
Whether it's Nope, Get Out, A Quiet Place, The Black Phone, Talk to Me, Us, Smile, Megan, Long Legs, or Weapons, original horror still finds huge box office success where other genres are struggling. There have been occasional breakouts in other genres over the last decade, but these one-off genre hits like The Comedy Free Guy or the war movie 1917 are pretty few and far between and feel more like the exception that proves the rule. Even with the success of one of these movies, we don't see a resurgence in the genre overall. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I want to know, why is it like this? Who killed the genre film? And perhaps more importantly, why do audiences love horror more than ever?
What is all wrong? Why do they do that? It's too red.
Of course, I know that movies and genres besides horror still get made. I'm making a distinction
Horror.
between genre as a label that we use to categorize movies and the genre film, where the audience goes to a movie in part for what the genre itself provides. Take superhero movies as an example. They do have some recognizable traits and structure, but I'd argue that what draws people to the latest Superman movie or MCU film isn't that it's a superhero movie. They're not going for the structure of the genre.
There's a new Marvel out that's supposed to be nuts. We should go see that.
They're going for the
Speaking of Marvel, I did enjoy Spider-Man. I made I don't know if it's a hot take, but I think I enjoyed Spider-Man Brand New Day more than I enjoyed Odyssey in theaters. Probably a hot take, because I enjoyed both. Both are incredible movies. But I think the rationale is probably because I enjoy the Spider-Man series, so I have a lot more history going in, or more context going into that movie. So then it felt a bit more emotional at times. Like the impact of the emotional scenes felt a bit more real. But yeah, you guys should go watch both. That night scene in 1917 is spectacular. Oh my God, yeah, that was fantastic. I need to rewatch a lot of these movies. Now, as I learn more about cinematography, I should rewatch them to see if I can understand a bit further.
fact that it's a Superman movie or the latest installment in the ongoing story that is the MCU.
Wait, guys, wait, check me out. Wait, hear me out.
And the fact that, other than Josh Trank's 2012 found footage movie Chronicle, we haven't seen a single successful superhero film that isn't based on existing IP, I think helps make this case. Movies from other genres still show up in theaters, but if we look at what succeeds in each of these genres, it's usually not the genre itself that is the primary selling point. Take, for example, F1. Does it owe its success to the fact that it's a sports movie, or is it the draw of Brad Pitt and the Formula One brand? Or look at something like Oppenheimer, which isn't really original anyway since it's based on a book. But did it make $1 billion because it's a biopic, or because it's a Christopher Nolan movie? Even if it succeeded as a biopic, are people really going to see biopics because they just love biopics as a genre, or because they're drawn by the subject of the biopic? And for the straight dramas that succeed, almost all of them do so not because of the genre, but because of the director, star power, or awards buzz that they managed to generate. It hasn't always been this way though. For much of film history, it wouldn't have been strange to go to a movie just because you wanted to see a movie in that genre. You might describe a new movie by saying, have you seen the latest Western? These days we're way more likely to say, have you seen the new Nolan? Have you seen the new Star Wars movie? Or even, have you seen the new A24?
Ooh,
but there's
yeah.
one major.
Yo, I feel like A24 has been popping. I feel like I was late to the game with A24. I'm assuming it used to be super indie back in the day. I mean, I did watch like Swiss Army Man. God, I don't know. Like I feel like my understanding is that A24 used to be super kind of like artsy indie back in the day, and now it probably feels more commercialized, I guess, or it's just been so famous or so popular, they've had so many hits that maybe it loses a bit of that kind of indie feel. The new Spider-Man, Fed says the new Spider-Man looks to be back to basics again, no more of the overdone multiverse stuff. I'm sure they're setting it up for the multiverse. I have no idea. I know that there's like the Avengers movie coming out whenever. What I really liked about the movie though is that it just felt more mature. Like, you know, because Tom Holland, I feel like he plays the very affable, goofy, lighthearted kid very well. So it was nice to kind of see him in a more serious, tone through most of the movie. So I think for me, I just prefer that kind of character development and the character arc. So it just felt a bit more emotionally raw. Some of the more depressing parts or like the crazy emotional moments had already happened in previous movies, right? So we're kind of getting to see the aftermath, so as a storyline, I just kind of like that. It was like just easy to follow. So it was nothing complicated. I liked the Punisher. I liked their kind of chemistry. He's kind of like a One Punch Man, I think, what's his name? Bernthal. He plays that kind of character and only that kind of character, but he plays it really damn well. What else? So yeah, the character development, the action was great. I didn't realize until afterwards, it's the same director, the fight director or whatever, the choreographer that did Shang-Chi. And so it's like, it was polished. A lot of those fight scenes, some of the camera angles they were utilizing, like, not to give anything away, but like some of the big fight scenes, they did some really cool, funky camera, twisting moments and just like really cool, refreshing style of showcasing the action. So yeah. Fed says, I haven't seen it yet, but the way it's shot also reminded me of the classic Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. I don't know. Is that the one with... I've only seen the one with... my God, what's the original one? I don't remember the actor's name. I've only seen one version of the Spider-Man back in the day. Less green screen, more shooting in real places, but that's just from watching trailers. There's a few scenes that I thought cinematography wise was really nice. Like nice angles to how they frame a shot, or like a puddle, I don't know if it's typical, but like when you see a puddle in the ground and that's like the reflection off the puddle gives you the shot. So there's like cool concept, there's like few moments like that where I was like, oh, that was a nice way to film this moment instead of like maybe a more typical way to do it. So there's like a few moments like that I thought was quite nice. But it doesn't wow you in the sense of like, oh, this is so artistic how they shot every scene. It is a Marvel. It is a, that kind of a production. The quality is great though. Like the colors are nice. Everything's nice. What I mean is there's not all the versions of Spider-Man in one film. Oh, gotcha. Not Marvel Universe, Multiverse. Got it. Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 is Sam Raimi. I see. Okay, I think I enjoyed that. With James Franco, right?
Hold out. Horror movies can still come out of nowhere with a new director, relatively unknown cast, original idea, and draw a huge crowd to the theater for no other reason than being a good horror movie. But before we can understand why and how horror survived, we have to look at who or what killed everything else. Classic Hollywood was built on the genre film: musicals, melodramas, screwball comedies, noirs, and gangster pictures. And you're gonna take it. In the 1950s, there was an explosion of low-budget sci-fi movies and big-budget epics. But then in the 70s, something started to change. Spielberg's Jaws became the first movie to make over $100 million at the domestic box office, permanently altering Hollywood's brain chemistry. Studios realized that if you had a movie with a really simple hook, marketed to the gills, and did a wide release in the summer, you...
Confession time. I don't think I've ever seen Jaws before. I say I don't think because I'm trying to think if there might be some scenes that I might have caught at different points, but I've never watched the movie start to finish. It's supposed to be like what, a classic though, right? Is it I think it's Steven Spielberg. I could be wrong. Yo, what's happening? Yo, we got Mark in the chat. Markman says, are you jumping ship for the Sony FX5? I am not. I don't have that kind of FU money lying around to be able to switch over. Plus, I love my Nikon, so, what can you say? Speaking of which, I'm editing my Nikon photos as we speak. Let me see what's a good framing for this one. Mark, man, good to see you here in the chat. I hope all is well. I think this looks good. We're also getting purple backlights. You should see it. It's a great movie. Okay. What, Jaws or which one? Fed says we're all. Oh, sorry, I missed something. We're all getting 8 FX5s to shoot our basements. Gotcha. No, Mark, I am staying on my beautiful, beautiful Nikon stuff. All right, I think this photo is complete. Let's go ahead and mark it as complete and turn off this recording. Boom. And then let's do a before and after. So, let's copy this cropping. Let's duplicate the image, reset everything, and then only keep the cropping and change the color label to purple. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so here's what we got. This is the original shot cropped to 4:3 or 3:4. I guess I should do the same here then, yeah? There we go, okay. So we had this image in its raw format. Then I put it through my edits. I forget which preset I ended up choosing, but here's what we got. And then I put it through Dehancer. And so after my Dehancer, I did one extra little edit within Lightroom, but here's our final image. I'm quite happy with it. And there you go. Bing, bing, boom. Mark says, all is well. Well, I'm happy to hear that. The world is a crazy place. A lot of nasty shit going around everywhere. So I'm glad things are at least well for you, man. Yeah. Okay, gorilla shot. What's next? We're going to do one of these yawning shots now. Oh, we can map it to this shark. We got this image of the jaws opened up here. Fed says, yeah, Jaws it's great, beautiful cinematography, and the first jump scare using the method still used to this day. Oh, you know what? I was watching, was it yesterday's video? We were watching one of those videos where it was explaining, I think it's in Jaws. There's like an iconic scene where maybe it's Spielberg. What's the terminology for this? Where you zoom out or zoom in, but as you're physically moving the camera closer or farther away, you're also manually twisting the focus ring to do the opposite at the same time. So if you're moving the camera backwards, as you're moving the camera physically backwards, you're also then manually zooming in to the subject at the same time. And it creates that weird distorted background compression concept. And I think they were saying, because we were watching the Severance video behind the scenes where they do that really well. And I think they had said, maybe it was Ben Stiller was saying it was done in Jaws. I could be wrong. Anyways, all right, let's figure out the next photo to edit here.
Serious money. This was the birth of the high concept blockbuster era, which Spielberg himself allegedly described by saying, if a person can tell me the idea in 25 words or less, it's gonna make a pretty good movie. And over the next 30 years, as long as a movie had a punchy, high concept logline, original ideas across a bunch of genres were able to find blockbuster success. This is the era that gave us movies like Die Hard, Groundhog Day, and Back to the Future. But this era was the start of something else as well. Studios looked at a movie like Jaws 2, which had mixed reviews, no Steven Spielberg, and was the continuation of a story that had already wrapped up pretty neatly. They saw it make over 200 million worldwide, and they realized that a movie with a recognizable name could sell as well as any star, director, or high concept logline. You know where this is headed. But the change didn't happen overnight. Studios used some of the massive profits from their predictably successful tentpole films to fund specialty divisions that took risks on more unconventional mid-budget original genre films, like the crime thriller Seven from New Line or a romantic comedy like Shakespeare in Love from Miramax.
Okay, give me a second. I need to blow my nose. My congestion is getting a little nasty. Hold on. Let's put it on my cat. Literally, I just need like 20 seconds. I should probably mute. Hold on. Okay. Look at my cat. Hello, pretty one. Fed says, yeah, that's Jaws with Roy Schneider in the beach chair. Hitchcock also used that method a lot. Okay. Yeah, that was the scene that they were referencing. Because I haven't seen the movie, but they showed the B-roll of some dude in a beach chair being zoomed in and out or whatever. It was the first true summer blockbuster. Damn. Okay. Okay. All right, this is the photo we're going to edit. Let's keep watching this and see where we get.
By 2005, while the franchise and IP-based films had already gobbled up a lot of box office real estate, there was still room for original genre movies like the comedy Wedding Crashers, romantic comedy Hitch, or action movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith. But by the late 2000s, as the financial crisis hit, DVD sales evaporated, and streaming services started to challenge theatrical attendance, studios became more and more risk-averse, ruthlessly cutting out everything but the most guaranteed hits. Original movies like comedies, romance, and adult dramas, high concept or not, just weren't safe bets anymore. They didn't sell well overseas, they didn't convert into franchises, and the specialty divisions that once made them got cut. And while the studios were cutting back on comedies, dramas, and romance films, these more dialogue-focused genres were blossoming in the new golden age of TV and the rise of streaming that followed. Streaming also killed the DVD rental market, which had been funding original genre hits for years.
What happened? What happened?
A movie like Fight Club could flop in theaters, but then more than make back its budget thanks to DVD rentals. Genre pieces like Michael Mann's Black Hat, Guy Ritchie's spy thriller The Man from U.N.C.L.E., or Shane Black's buddy comedy The Nice Guys all thrived in this rental market. Studios like Netflix, Apple, and Amazon Prime didn't just destroy the DVD rental market, they swooped in and took over the production of these kinds of genre action and comedy hits. Some of these movies are still getting made, but studios give them little to no theatrical run and dump them straight onto streaming, so they've all but disappeared from the box office landscape. But how come during all of this, while every other genre film was being picked off one by one, horror didn't just escape death, but grew stronger than ever? What makes a good horror movie? You might want some interesting social commentary, an original catchy idea, inventive visuals, maybe a good cast. Quality filmmaking is always a plus, a sense of atmosphere. But ultimately,
Fed says it's a dolly zoom, also known as the vertigo shot from Hitchcock's film Vertigo. Okay. Yo. I'm in film school right now.
ultimately, the bargain of horror as a genre is that it promises to deliver an experience, to evoke something very primal, to unsettle you, to cause anxiety, fear, or terror. And why is that the thing that breaks records, while many other indie genre films struggle to even get recognized? Some of the story might just be boring old economics and marketing. Relative to some genres like action and science fiction, a horror movie that delivers well on the promise of the genre can be made relatively affordably. The budgetary limitations that might hurt other genres can even help horror movies. Despite being made for less than $1 million, a movie like Obsession never feels cheap or small. If anything, its contained reality adds to the horrifying atmosphere. Limited locations might help evoke a sense of claustrophobia. Unknown actors can immerse you in a fiction and add a sense of vulnerability. Shadowy, moody lighting doesn't just serve the story, it can also help cover over more affordable production design. And done well, the suggestion of a monster can be far scarier than the most expensive CGI creations. On top of being cheap to make, horror movies are easier to market. Most of them are almost high concept by definition, and the fact that they often rely on incredibly evocative visuals means that their trailers are more attention-grabbing in a visually saturated media landscape. And with the core
dolly is when you use a track to run the camera on. That I know, or I knew of that concept, or like when I hear dolly, my understanding is that it's on that like wheels, like a track with wheels, and then you slide it in whichever direction or something. I've never used one, but I'm familiar with the term, I guess.
Function of the genre driven not by dialogue, but atmosphere, mood, and visuals, a lot of horror plays well on international markets. Horror's reliance on activating our primal human instinct means it's universal in a way that more linguistically and culturally specific genres like romantic comedies aren't always. And horror movies tend to convert well into IP with long-term success. Even though we see more original horror than any other original category, we also see a ton of successful horror franchises. So for studios and independent production companies, horror is one of the cheaper genre options they can bet on that still has massive potential upside. But I don't think this tells the whole story. I don't think audiences are just passive consumers, greedily gobbling anything the studios will shove down their throats. The biggest thing that propelled the success of Obsession was word of mouth. If marketing budget alone decided box office return, Backrooms wouldn't have smashed the latest Star Wars film. On some level, if we didn't want them, we'd go spend our hard-earned $15 somewhere else. So why have audiences chosen horror as the defining genre of our era? Why horror now?
At first glance, everything looked the same. It wasn't. Something evil had taken possession of the town.
You could study the cultural currents of the last 75 years of American history through its horror films. In the 50s, Cold War paranoia manifested in fears of dehumanization, like the brain-dead pod people of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Their bodies were now hosts harboring an alien form of life, a cosmic form, which to survive must take over every human man.
Or apocalyptic destruction, as seen in Them, which unleashed giant radioactive ants on American cities.
Because unless you solve it, man, as the dominant species of life on Earth, will...
Fez is, so when you dolly the camera and zoom at once, you get that effect. I guess that's what they explained in the video you talked about. Yeah. I was familiar with that technique probably because of Severance, actually. I'm trying to think if there's another movie or show where I saw that effect really well. Yeah, I think it was Severance, because it was it's such a visually striking scene, and they do it all the time, right? It's like a pivotal part of like a lot of the episodes. And so that transition effect was so cool. And so it definitely raised a lot of like, you know, general attention and questions about how they did it. So I eventually learned from that.
Probably be extinct.
The Vietnam-stained new horror of the 1970s was soaked in arbitrary brutality, distrust of authority, and at times, like with The Last House on the Left and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, outright nihilism. The Reaganite 80s saw a wave of slashers like Friday the 13th and Halloween. These franchises pitted aspirations of youth liberation against the paternalistic, conservative morality of the time.
You don't get smart.
Me?
You blame everything on kids.
These are just a few of the many undercurrents that can be traced. Stephen King, in his 1981 treatise on horror, Danse Macabre, wrote, "The horror genre has often been able to find national phobic pressure points. And those books and films which have been the most successful almost always seem to play upon and express fears which exist across a wide spectrum of people." Sometimes horror can be made and sold explicitly with these allegories in mind. Someone like Jordan Peele can use a movie like Get Out to examine the horror of racism in America. But other times, these cultural anxieties are translated through horror more unconsciously. George Romero, who made The Night of the Living Dead, has denied that any allegory in the movie was intentional. But the film, through both Romero's direction and its popularity with audiences, still managed to tap into latent anxieties about a polarized 1960s American society cannibalizing itself. Whether intentional or not, horror is an expressionistic medium. It uses imagery, situations, symbols, and worlds to both express and tap into the prevailing cultural fears and societal anxieties. Obsession explores the horror of coercive romance and sexual assault, and it's not surprising to me that it's resonated with a young audience amidst the rise of heightened anxiety surrounding dating and romance. It makes sense that the 2011 virus horror Contagion saw a resurgence during COVID.
Can I call someone?
Call everyone.
But why do we seek out horror movies about things we're already afraid of?
You see her! You have to see her! Please, Holly, tell me that you see somebody!
I think it's because anxiety and fear are incredibly repressed in our society. Want to see anger? Just go on.
Fed says, yeah, in the elevator when they sever. Oh man, I didn't ever connect the dots that you call that the severing. Severance. I mean, it makes sense, but I never kind of described it that way. Nice. Good show, by the way. Man, shout out to freaking Ben Stiller. What can he not do, you know? I'm excited for the next season.
Online. Sadness, we often collectively mourn, though perhaps not as well as we could. But I find it's rare to hear someone openly acknowledge their fears and anxieties. In her book Feeding the Monster, the author and film critic Anna Bugaskatsia writes that horror is not about simple voyeurism, about looking at someone being butchered or haunted. It's about feeling what they're feeling. Horror provides a contained outlet, an experience of gathering together socially to literally face our fears, where the point is not repressing the fear, but to finally actually let yourself feel it. Getting to feel repressed fear collectively in a contained context that we consent to, where we know we won't actually be harmed by what we're seeing, serves a powerful psychological function in our society. And there's an unapologetic sense of sincerity found at the core of horror. As Bugaskatsia says, there's nothing ironic about being scared. It is, at its best, an experience of extreme physical and emotional earnestness. Perhaps we find this to be a potent salve to the postmodern milieu of modern life, where everything is drenched in layers of irony, self-apology, and self-referentialism. Perhaps it's an attempt to do a kind of collective shadow work, to exorcise the demons that we fear by bringing them into the light of the cinema screen. Maybe all of this helps society. Maybe it's a distraction, an emotional release valve that lets off steam while we continue to avoid addressing the real problems underlying these fears. Culture is slippery and nebulous. It's impossible to boil the success of a genre down to one thing. But I think what all these explanations have in common is that they point to horror as a form of cultural expressionism. Stephen King said, "Terror often arises from a pervasive sense of disestablishment, that things are in the unmaking." And is there a better way to describe the last 15 years or so, the time during which the success of horror has been on the rise? I bet you feel it too. The sense that the world is being unmade, that you're not quite sure what it's being turned into or who it's being unmade for. So is it any surprise that in a time of increasing social and cultural anxiety, where we're facing down the barrel of a global system that seems to be nearing a state of collapse, all while we feel increasingly powerless to get those with power to do anything to change course, where we have no accepted outlet to fully feel or express the fear that comes along with living in this reality, that horror movies are the most successful genre left at the box office. I've been writing my own horror movie.
Man, way to go super depressing at the end there. I mean, he's kind of spot on. Yo, we got King Kruk. Fed says, I love Severance. Yeah, fantastic. I'm excited for Pluribus to continue as well. King Kruk says, shout out to Yobel and Fed. Saw Odyssey before any of us. Have you seen it yet? Fantastic movie. King says to Mark, ain't nobody checking for you, Otis. Sony equals Otis. I didn't know the reference. Fed says, I guess it was kind of early. I watched it in IMAX in Spain, but it was my sister's husband who was really riled up and wanted us to go. Yeah, I ended up watching it on Sunday, however many Sundays ago. Almost didn't get to watch it because my freaking friends were so indecisive or like so particular about, it was just hard to organize and get it together. But thankfully we got to see it. Very, very good. But like I said, I think I enjoyed Spider-Man more in theaters. But it's like both of them were amazing. So what can you say? How's it going, King? Good to have you here. We haven't seen Pluribus yet. I think it's really fascinating. I love those types of sci-fi kind of stuff. I'm curious where the next season will take us. But yeah, it's definitely worth watching. Really well filmed as well. So I think I want to rewatch it just to kind of see if I can take notes. I did take a few notes, but I want to keep taking notes. It's one of those shows that feels like every episode was really well thought out, start to finish. And like each episode might even have like its own storyline to it, if that makes sense. I think Breaking Bad would do this occasionally. I'm trying to think of other shows where sometimes each episode feels like a standalone film. Ooh, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed The Bear, right? I mentioned this before, but I think The Bear is currently my favorite drama TV show I've seen. And part of the reason is like, well, everything, the acting, just everything about it is fantastic. But I also really appreciate how every episode feels like it was treated like a standalone film, as opposed to like, oh, this is just part of a series and we're just going to keep the story moving forward. It's like, no, we have an artistic style that we want to start off on this episode. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it properly, but I really appreciate when shows do that really well. Fed says there's so many series and films on our list. We will probably see it soon. Yeah, it's worth watching.
This year, and something that has helped me write is creating a mood board that captures the look and feel of the scenes I'm writing. This has been super easy to do with FrameSet, my sponsor for this video. FrameSet is a tool that helps filmmakers find inspiration, expand their vision, and communicate their ideas visually. You can quickly and easily search through a huge library of stills and motion images from movies, music videos, commercials, and more. You can then download these images, save them to sets, and share them with others. The search function works really well. In addition to searching for specific films, actors, or directors, you can also just describe the subject or style of a shot. And if you find an image you like, you can easily browse through similar shots. I used FrameSet to quickly build a reference board that I gave to the colorist for my documentary feature, Out of a Flood. And it's a great research tool for video essays where I'm studying a specific style, type of shot, or looking for a specific moment from a film. FrameSet is like having a cinematography search engine for a ton of great films at your fingertips. And you can go give it a try right now. With the free version, you'll get 10 searches a day, or you can click the link in the description below to support my channel when you upgrade to Pro for faster high-res browsing and unlimited searches. Big thanks to FrameSet for building such a great tool for filmmakers and for sponsoring this video.
Amazing. Fed says, I think if this guy in the video raised his mic more or had it on a stand like a normal person, he wouldn't have such an arched back at such a young age. I wasn't paying attention to his posture. I'll take your word for it. Man, I gotta fix my, speaking of which, yeah, I gotta fix my posture. Damn. Okay, what do we want to watch next? How the Severance editor cut the finale like a music video. Ooh, that sounds juicy. You know what? Let's watch it. Oh, and then there's one queued up there. What was it? How the cast of Severance. Okay, let me just have that one ready. All right, here we go.
Ben kept saying, no, start early. Ben kept saying, no, start earlier, to the point where it's like, it starts now right when he turns around, which in hindsight, obviously like makes perfect sense because that's the moment. That's like, we're done. He's done with Gemma. There's no more decision making. He's like fully committed to staying with Helly. Hi, my name is Jeff Richman. I'm one of the free editors on Severance, and we'll be looking at episode 210, the finale of season 2 of Severance.
I don't know if I would position myself as an editor. Like, I don't know if I feel skilled enough to say like, hey, I want to be a professional editor. But then I also wonder what's so different about pursuing that professionally compared to, you know, pursuing cinema, like shooting the camera or any other, you know, lane that you choose in this world. I really enjoy editing for what it's worth, but I don't have like the skill set right now built up to do all the punchy stuff, the crazy visual effects, like the things people use After Effects for, things like that. But I really do enjoy when I'm editing my footage, when I put a story together. It's super, super fun being in the DaVinci mode. But yeah. King's asking, are you picking up an FX5? I am not, unless I get paid to. But no. You are leaving it to his young hip cats to get the FX5. You know, I'm already happy filming my cats with my beautiful Nikon Z6 III and the Z9, although one of them is not in use right now. But yeah, listen, do I really want to spend $3,000? No, $4,000 extra to get the quality of an FX5 over my existing cameras? I think not. Not for now.
I had worked with Ben Stiller before on Escape at Dannemora. So, I mean, after we finished Escape at Dannemora, he told me about this show, Severance, that he was going to be doing. I got to read the first script, and just like the way it plays with like time and perception and a twist at the end of the first episode. It's just reading the first script of the first episode was just like immediately hooked me.
If we can prove that they kidnapped her, it will end them.
So the first sequence that we actually edited is the birthing cabin. Each episode's different, and also different editors work with different amounts of tracks. Like during the edit of this episode, I probably had about 14 video tracks.
Jesus.
And I would say 28 audio tracks.
I want more of these types of videos, these behind the scenes breakdowns. It's so cool to actually see. I don't know what it is, but it is somewhat, I guess, humanizes these celebrities, really. People you're like, I don't know how they can do what they do. But when you see them like using the same tools as you, or kind of like speaking the same language, or like, you know, whatever, it does kind of make it feel a bit more attainable. It's not to take away their talent, but it just feels more inspiring, where it's like, I feel motivated now, I could do this. So it's kind of cool even seeing all this, like, you know, his computer screen. I'm assuming this is Premiere or something, or maybe something more professional. I don't know. Did he say? Hold on.
Tracks. Like during the edit of this episode, I probably had about 14 video tracks.
My guess is that's Premiere Pro. Yeah.
And I would say 28 audio tracks. Logistically, the way the birthing cabin set was built, that was shot way before the rest of the episode, which was actually helpful for me psychologically because it's such a big episode and so many things have happened. So it's like, it was nice to just sort of like tackle this one thing as its own little short film. The scene where like Mark is talking to himself, I know how I felt reading this, and I kind of want to get that same feeling when I'm cutting this. I want to feel the intensity building. I want to feel that the conversation is getting more intense and then shifting down and then going up a notch. And it's sort of like all those like waves. The goal in the edit was to kind of like make those changes clear. When I spoke to Teddy Shapiro, the composer, he and I had lots of conversations about like where the changes are within the scene. There's like a lot of emotion holding on him looking at himself on the camera, but there's also an understanding of like how this is working. He's going to watch himself, and then he sits down, and then he's like, you know, he's never recorded something on a camera before, so this is sort of like a hesitancy, like he turns it around. There's like figuring it out on his part, and also conveying to us how this is gonna work. And then into the sever transition at the threshold. There was lots of different ways we could make this transition in the edit.
Man, this guy's so
like
good.
They even shot him like walking from the chair up to the doorway. It has.
It would be fun to learn from people like this. Fez says there's nothing, I missed a few things. There's nothing the FX5 can do that my cameras can't. It's very expensive for what it does, and I have no E-mount lenses, yeah. King says, we await an honest review from you. Oh, does Mark, you have an FX5? Or maybe I missed that. Oh, I'm picking up the FX5. I missed the message before. I am broke now. I am picking up the FX5. Well, congrats, man. Unless you're joking, but if you did end up purchasing the Sony FX5, congrats to you. I'm very excited to see the results you end up getting with it. By all accounts, it is a super powerful camera. And, you know, a lot of the reviews we watched, it basically was kind of breaking it down as like, this might be the most capable camera within the price range. I don't know if that's the right way to put it. But it's got so much built into the camera that if you have it, you probably won't end up being disappointed besides how much money you spent on it. And so then the question becomes like, yeah, is it, if you can spend the money on it, by all means, enjoy. Mark says, I'm joking. I truly am broke. Okay, well, in which case, yeah, whatever. Sony FX, whatever. But no, I think if you have your hands on it, by all means, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. I just can't justify spending that kind of money when, as to Fed's point, and I think maybe King mentioned as well, it's like an incremental, how do you say? For the extra $4,000 you would have to spend for the camera and the top handle over the ZR, what are the features that you end up getting that you don't get with the ZR, which is meaningfully an improvement? And I think those meaningful things, that becomes very, very subjective for sure, but definitely hard to argue if it's worth that kind of money. Because all the downsides, if you would say, hey, just do a comparison of the ZR to the Sony FX5, just because that's the one I have and I know the price point. For all the downsides of the ZR, there's a world where you could technically upgrade the ZR to make up for the downside by spending some money on some accessory. And so then there's a world where with the $4,000 extra that you didn't have to spend on just the camera body and the handle, you could technically make up for any of the imperfections or the areas where maybe it lacks certain features compared to the Sony. For some things, right? Some things you just can't do anything about, but I don't know. I think I can't justify that. Mark says, I think my issues is most people don't refer to NRAW normal for the ZR. What do you mean by refer to? I definitely love shooting in NRAW. I still have a lot of footage that I'm grading in NRAW from my past trips. So we haven't gotten through my Sri Lanka trip, but that was in NRAW. Although I don't think it was NRAW normal, if that's what you're talking about. It was like the NRAW high, the higher version. Never even thought about renting in Venice when I could rent Red and Ari or just use my Black Magic. Yeah. Mark says, I'm a photographer first, and the ZR fits both for me at this point. Yeah, that was actually I didn't realize this at the time. I didn't realize the Sony FX5 is only video. So I think once I heard that, it was like an immediate like, oh, well, there goes my interest in grabbing that. Because like for me, I am very much a hybrid shooter. I don't see a world where I ever want to stop being a photographer. I find a thrill in doing so. There's no reason for me to stop. And so if I can have a camera that maintains my ability to capture photos, like stills on top of videos, that's ideal. And so that's the beauty of the ZR, right? You do technically get that cinema quality and you get a beautiful photo capture ability. So, and you know, proof is in the pudding. This is what we're editing, right? These are all photos taken with the ZR. So every one of these images you've seen me edit for the past, I think 2 to 3 weeks at this point, they're all captured with Nikon ZR. So more than capable with its 24 megapixel sensor. And then I guess there's a world where, no, I was going to say, like, I usually like traveling with 2 cameras. So there could be a world where I have a dedicated cinema camera and then a dedicated photo camera. But actually, I've enjoyed having dual wielding. My 2 Nikon ZRs on these trips have been fantastic, because then it doesn't matter, right? Like I have 85 millimeter on one camera, and then maybe I have a 400 millimeter on the other, or 35. And at any point I can get video and photo with 2 different lens perspectives. So that's way better than having to bounce between a photo only and a video only. But these are personal, you know, whatever. People have their preference. I missed a few things. I've become more proficient with NRAW, says King Kruk. Fez says, I think it's Matty. Matty makes it powerful. I've never even thought about, oh yeah. So, and then you said on YouTube, most people only refer to R3D NE and not NRAW normal for compression. I haven't shot NRAW on the Nikon ZR. I don't think I have. So I'm probably one of those as well, where I've only been shooting in R3D. King says, Matty's laugh makes it the most powerful. Nice. Fed says, I've not tried NRAW yet. I have tried grading NRAW from Zen 9 though. Seems okay. It's no red raw, but it's fine. Well, yeah, so just to clarify, if you guys have seen any of my older YouTube videos, everything up until my chimpanzee short film, those are all shot with Nikon, everything from like a Nikon Z9, Z6 III, Z8. So those travel vlog series I've done in the past, all of that is NRAW, the 12-bit higher compression version or whatever it's called. So I've always enjoyed it, you know, like I feel like I get really good quality out of it. Now, is it like a cinematic comparison? I'm sure I have to do more work to make it feel that way. And I definitely noticed a difference when I hopped from my NRAW to when I was testing the ZR for the first time and seeing the bigger difference in the dynamic range and everything else. But it was definitely impressive. 12-bit NRAW is fantastic. I see no reason why people... it's like a hidden secret, in my opinion. If you're a Nikon shooter with the right cameras, NRAW is fantastic. Internal RAW recording, 12-bit, smaller, like better compression and compared to like if you're shooting in Apple ProRes, whatever, 422, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, you know, that was my opinion, but Mark says, the ZR made me like my Z6 III more. Interesting. I love my Z6 III as well, by the way. And I've made a few videos on YouTube about it. NRAW needs more recognition. It's actually pretty good for post work. Yeah, like I said, I am a big ass fan of NRAW. Yeah, so you'll see it in my work. Requires a bit more work on the contrast, but other than that, I like it with the little I've graded. I've never tried the Z6 III, but aside from 32-bit float and red raw, it must be very similar. It's basically the same camera. Yeah, if you guys want to see, here, let's find my previous video. Because in one of my previous, I've done a number of episodes, or I've not done a number of YouTube videos on the Nikon Z6 III. So if you ever are curious, I guess I could just play it. You know what? Let's just play it. Hold on. Hold on a second. Let me pause this recording. Since we're on the topic, and I haven't seen this in a long time. So this was from this year. 1 year with the Z6 III. Oh, here it is. Okay. Is this the final version? May 16? Yeah. Okay. I hope you guys can see this. Let's full screen it. So this is one of my YouTube videos. I made a number of them around the Z6 III. This was more just like a full comprehensive kind of style video about it. So I did one on the slow motion features. I did another on the low light features, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so all of this is shot with NRAW. I've been traveling with the Nikon Z6 III for the past year across 7 countries through dust and rain and snow, and I pushed it as far as it could go. This is what it gave me back home. Welcome back to my channel as I share the best of the world. I think this was shot in, this might have been my red camera, or the ZR. So, because I wanted to hold the Z6 III in my hand. So that part is not. So the home studio is not NRAW. The rest is NRAW. This video isn't meant to be a comprehensive review of the Nikon Z6 III. Instead, I wanted to share what surprised me the most about this camera. When I travel, I usually carry 2 cameras. The Nikon Z9 is my powerhouse. That's the one I reach for when I'm on a game drive and I want that leopard close-up, because it's built for those moments. The Z6 III was supposed to be the backup, the B camera, the one I would grab for quick shots here and there while the Z9 did the heavy lifting. Instead, what happened is the Z6 III started coming out of the bag all the time. Not always for the big moments, but for everything else, the in-between moments. Walking through a market in Vietnam, the sunset bathing an eagle hunter atop a mountain in Mongolia, a moment of peace while boating through a swamp in Uganda. The stuff that happens fast, without warning, while you're on your way to the thing you actually planned to shoot. And it kept up. That's the part that surprised me. It shoots NRAW internally up to 6K resolution, so I wasn't compromising on quality. The slow motion at 240 frames per second changed how I capture movement entirely. Oh, and then one thing I like about that, low light performance gave me capture movement so you can shoot in that HD 240 frames per second, and then I've been using Topaz Video to upscale. Although I think I've done a few within DaVinci's native upscaling, and that's been pretty good as well. So I find it's like there's no issues with recording 1080p, 240 frames per second, and then I can always upscale later, and I haven't noticed any weirdness when I do that upscaling. So I found it's a like nice happy medium. Let me just quickly catch up here though. Never tried that Z6 III, but aside from the 32-bit float and red raw, it must be very similar. It's basically the same camera. Yeah, same sensor size, I guess, or maybe it is the same sensor. I don't know. Yeah, because I don't know much about how the technology works per se. But my understanding, it is technically using the same sensor. It's like that. It's like a partially stacked sensor. the Z6 III. Fed's asking, do you prefer the controls? And the H.265 is, of course, much better. NRAW controls, and I can shoot faster on it for photos. ZR I love because of raw screen and 32-bit flow audio. Exactly, yeah. There's NRAW on the ZR2. Yeah, that was the thing. I was like, oh, I guess I've never shot NRAW within my ZR as of yet. I see no reason. I mean, I would be happy doing it too. Let's say if I really wanted consistency with some other Nikon cameras that I have no issues filming in NRAW. And like I said, I mean, I'm showing some of the footage now, and I'm a huge fan, obviously. This is why I made this video. But yeah. Never had my ZR in photo mode, says Fed. You should try it, man. It's the only annoying thing is there's fewer buttons, so it's not as functional or practical compared to when I'm shooting with the Z6 III or the other, like, you know, photo first cameras. So there's a few workarounds you have to keep in mind. It's a little bit extra, but I mean, the quality is the same as the Z6 III. Fed says, it did take me a while to get used to the ZR way of controlling a camera. It was weird at first. Yeah. Same sensor with some tweaks, yeah. Entirely. And the low light performance gave me confidence to keep shooting well past sunset. But honestly, the biggest thing was simpler than any of that. It's small, it's light. And when you're traveling for weeks at a time carrying gear through airports and dirt roads and boats, that matters more than you think it will. The Z9 is still my main wildlife camera. That hasn't changed. But the Z6 III that has changed. My everything else camera. I guess I'm already outdating myself. Well, no, it's not that the Z9 is outdated. It's now that I'm shooting at the ZR, that's become like my primary everything camera for the most part, because obviously my focus being more on the film side. But let's say if they come out with a freaking Z9 Mark II, oof, I'll be hard pressed not to upgrade to that. And when you travel the way I do, everything else is most of the trip. After a year of traveling with it, the Z6 III stopped feeling like a backup camera. It became an equal partner in a powerful 1-2 punch combo. And that's probably the best thing I can say about it. If you want to see what I mean, I made a few videos going deeper. Cool story, bro. Yeah, that's the rest of it. So anyways, with it, that is the Z6 III. That was one of the videos I made about it. And I'm a big fan. I'm a huge fan, some would say, with the NRAW. So by all means, guys, shoot away in NRAW. Same sensor, yep. In video mode, it works great, but I can't imagine trying to use it as a photo camera. But I got used to it for video, so maybe it's just a learning curve like most things. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm showing, this is why I love doing these live streams. I get to show you guys, like, hey, every one of these photos that I'm editing, these were shot with the ZR. So I am practicing what I'm preaching, and I'm showing you guys that as a hybrid shooter, the ZR worked perfectly. Okay, I won't say perfectly, because there's a few things obviously I would love more. But I was able to capture my photo moments and my video moments effectively. Mark says, when they get the Z8 Mark II, instant buy for me. Yeah, I do appreciate the smaller camera size. Okay, let me continue editing this photo. We were halfway
to stay subjective, like you have to be in with any mark or in without a mark. And so like, this was something that Ben and I sort of like landed on in the edit, which was going into the lens, going to black and coming out, and now we're outie mark. And you're seeing that he's at the threshold, you're hearing this ever transition, now we get. There's also the moment where he like stops, re-strategizes, starts giving him the more personal information about Gemma, which slows the scene down again. We know that when he starts talking about Gemma, it's got to be slower, right? Also, his performance in that shot in particular is so good. In my first cut of this scene, it just held on the shot even longer because he's just so good at this point in the scene and the performance. When he's talking about Gemma, you just want to be slower. You want to be sitting on his face and watching him talk about Gemma, and you also want to see how any mark is affected by it.
That's a crazy
timeline. Backwards, if you're going to slow the scene down there, you want a little bit of a lift right before it, so you have somewhere to slow down from. So like all of this, that's why another reason why it's like these like faster cuts with the buttons. It's like increasing the pace. The rhythm is faster. Rhythm is faster.
I am curious.
Then full stop. It's like, hold on.
So at that professional level, I wonder what is the tool of choice for editors. You think it's like all of the Hollywood guys? If you were to do a breakdown, how many of them are editing with like one of these consumer software, or do they have their own proprietary stuff? I'm curious. Because I can't make it out. It looks like he's editing in Adobe. but I wonder if a lot of the professionals use like DaVinci, or if that's just not good enough. Like maybe they have their own custom stuff. Fed says, I heard some rumors about possible specs for a new Z9. 1.4 millisecond rolling shutter or something. Sounds a bit crazy, but who knows? If that is actually true for a Z9 Mark II and Z8 or Z8 II, would probably be the same. That would be like, I don't actually know. I am curious if they're going to continue with this strategy of having a Z9 and a Z8, having the exact same internals, just in a different body shape or whatever. I'm curious. Because like I totally got why they did that. I don't know if I fully got it. I understood maybe there's a strategy to it to kind of make more people purchase this like top of the line flagship camera at a cheaper price. So maybe it was a ploy to get more people bought into Nikon. But like, is that strategy actually effective long term, to always have two series of cameras that are exactly the same, just different size? I don't know. Like maybe yes, maybe it's like just by building one camera body, you can sell it in two different forms. So maybe it is actually, I don't know. I don't know. It depends on the editor and color grader. They don't always the same. Gotcha.
This is getting out of hand. Let me tell you about Gemma.
Man, such a good show.
Terrified of the marching band scene, like going in. This is something they shot over 4 days, and it was just a sea of footage. I'd never cut a music video before, so it's like, we want to enjoy the marching band, but we also need to keep the story moving forward. And so it's like, I spent a lot of time cutting the 2 marching band songs, which were a challenge in themselves just because of the sheer amount of footage. On top of that, within the scenes, keeping track of our main characters. What we did is after the first song, we dropped in this beat with James entering this like viewing suite. And then also a check-in with Cecily and Gemma heading to Cold Harbor. So it's this like stark reminder of like, this is happening, right? The final test is gonna happen and Mark has to get out of there. The marching band song is over and it's this hilarious final shot. This is real. The Cold Harbor test is about to happen, and it just raises the stakes and keeps us on the main storyline. The way I like to work sometimes is, or a lot of times is, I'll stack different options at any given moment. So all these different tracks are not many video tracks playing at the same time. What they are
different options.
Other options of where we can be at any given moment. Just find it really.
Oh, that's what I do too, I think. I'm assuming that's just a normal technique. Or it's just, yeah, you just want to swap it out to see if one's better than the other. Mark says, wait, I missed, Fed says, Colin Kelly interviews a lot of famous Hollywood editors and graders and they use different stuff. Gotcha. Often what they use is dictated by the coloring house they work at. I didn't know that was a term. Mark says, I love the Z8. I bought the battery grip and I hated that grip. The Z9 is great to me for sports or heavy duty work. Yeah. I wonder if they will ever make a Z7 again. I feel like there are some Z7 fans that wants a version 3. Interesting. Yeah. Listen, I'm curious as well. I don't know what they're cooking up in the kitchen, but, feed us. Come on, we're hungry. It's been a while. When was the Z7 II release? I have no idea.
Really handy to be able to like turn on and off different selections and see how they interact with each other. So here's like one of the earliest little like pairings that worked well. And that works, so that travels then forward as everything around it is still being built. It's like this and that. They're entering MDR and it's like this side and that side. There was just like a nice little pairing. And it's like once those 2 shots found each other, they kind of like bonded and then everything kind of kept getting built around that. This I find fascinating, which is when she leaves Mark, the band song naturally shifts into this, which is, so it just like has this, like it almost feels scored, but that's just naturally where the song shifts into, which is this sort of like, almost like Mission Impossible-y, like she's gonna do this thing and he's gonna then, to allow him to escape. So like when we leave the marching band, we're still using the marching band as score. So Mark is running through the hallway and the marching band becomes the score to this part of the episode. We had a finite amount of shots of like Mark running through the hallways. When he got to the door to the black hallway, it was like 9 or 10 minutes after he left MDR. So in moving Mark running around the hallway, so this this little piece of Mark running down the hallway starts with Drummond goes into the altar room.
Okay, so we are finished with this image. Let's quickly review what we ended up getting. So this is the original photo, just with a little bit of cropping into a 3x4. Let's do the same here. There we go. Okay. So yeah, there we go. So we got the before unedited. Then we have intermediate step when I did my edits within Lightroom. And then the final steps after I put it through Dehancer, we get a bit more of like this film emulation look and a bit more accentuated lighting and coloring around the teeth and the mouth. So I think for this one, I turned on halation in addition to the bloom effect within Dehancer, because I figure there's a lot of nice red in the shot. So I don't mind if the red is a bit glowy. So yeah, there we go. We got our final image. Boom, boom, boom. Happy, happy. What's next? All right, so we can do one of these shots. I mean, this is probably going to be a boring shot. I don't know. Is it worth editing this one? Let's quickly just kind of get a gauge if I do a super wide angle. There's probably a place for this image somewhere, but it's, again, it's just like, I don't think it's going to be, Yeah, it's probably too boring. There's not really an expression on the gorilla's face anyways that warrants this being worth. For now, I don't think it's worth editing, so I think we get to move on to one of these close-up shots. Let's find which one is in focus. Fed says, professionals will often use Autodesk luster and basslight, not in the price ranges normal folks buy. These are tens of thousands of dollars to buy and install. Jesus. Damn. So just a reminder, I guess there are levels to everything. Fed says, so the firm or color house you work for, buy it for the office. DaVinci was also in that price range back in the day before it was bought out and Resolve became a thing. But I guess my question is, do a lot of professionals at the Hollywood level use something like consumer level style, like a DaVinci or... here, let's ask Google. Does Hollywood editors use DaVinci, Resolve, or Adobe Premiere? All right. Hollywood feature film and TV editors primarily use Avid Media Composer, not DaVinci Resolve or Adobe Premiere Pro. While Premiere Pro is used for some television shows, indie films, and trailers, DaVinci dominates Hollywood for color grading and finishing. Avid... Oh, I'm reading the sentence wrong. So while Adobe is used for some TV shows, indie films, and trailers, and DaVinci dominates Hollywood for color grading and finishing, Avid remains the core standard for large collaborative film teams. Watch this video to understand the real-world breakdown of what major productions use for editing. Ooh, should we watch this video then? I mean, it seems right up... I mean, it's my question, right? Wait, have I watched this before, or why is it stuck? Oh, maybe that's just where it's linked. What video editing software does Hollywood use for film and TV? We'll review what changed since we last covered this in 2017 and see how Hollywood has evolved since then, including a change in the big three solutions: Avid Media Composer, Premiere Pro, Final Cut Pro, Blackmagic Design, DaVinci Resolve, everything else. Okay. This might be worth watching. Let's see if I can put it off to the side here. Bring it over. Wait, come on. There we go. Okay, so this could be a potential video we watch. DaVinci is also used, but it's just not very widespread. It's rising, says Fed. Mark says, like Pro Tools in music videos. Yeah. Avid is an industry standard, so it's hard to compete. But then I guess the same question remains. If someone wants to get into the industry, does that mean you have to basically start playing around with Avid yourself? Or I wonder if you can rent it out, or you have to go to certain places to get some practice with it. Because I was thinking about this earlier. I've had this conversation a bunch of times with like different safari guides on my trips. Like some of the guides that I've been with for like Jeep safaris, they've talked about how like they've worked with BBC or Netflix on whatever documentaries. And so they've gotten to see firsthand what it's like to be on a set like that, or like to be on a shoot like that. And so they're mentioning, you know, like the Nat Geo / like BBC Earth type people or the Netflix people. They got these crazy ass camera rigs that then, you know, that they latch onto the Jeep, and it's like remote controlled and blah, blah, blah. And so it's like, man, how does one get into that industry? Because the gear itself must cost like $100,000 or something crazy. So it's definitely out of the reach of any average citizen being able to just be like, oh, I want to, you know, use this. Or even to loan it, I wonder if that's possible. So then it's like, it's like a chicken and egg type thing. Like, how do you actually enter that industry if in order to be accepted in the industry, you have to show proof that you've shot with certain types of cameras. But in order to shoot with those types of cameras, you have to be in the industry. So it's like, what the hell? Like, how do you break that? I have no idea. But yeah, I guess you just have to have money. Yo, Elvis. Elvis is in the chat. Says, nice. How's it going, man? Good to have you here. Even Fed says, even if there's other programs that might be better in some ways, it's not going to be easy to replace something everyone uses. Yeah. Yep. Okay, anyways. How's it going, Elvis? Thanks for being here. We're just wrapping up a few more photos here. So we just finished this photo of the silverback when it was yawning. Then there was this photo when the silverback's just kind of casually resting. Then I edited one shot of this ranger here, and as he's looking off. You know what? This was the right decision. Sometimes I'm proud of myself that we made the right decision. There's no wrong decision, to be fair, but the original shot, I did mention, like, you know, if you look at the original composition of the capture of the frame, I had a lot of space here, and we had a few different versions of the shot. Ultimately, I landed on this one where he's looking to the right, and my thought was actually placing him on the left and then balancing him out with the foliage in the foreground as like this kind of blurred effect. For what it's worth, as far as this final image looks, I think I'm happy with that thought process, or it worked out, I think. So yeah, we got this cool image. And then I think that was it. This is the photo from yesterday that we edited. All right, so now we're going to do one of these kind of close-up shots of, this might have been one of the babies, if I'm not mistaken. I can't really make it out, but we'll see. But yeah, thanks Elvis for being here. We're just watching a video breaking down, breaking down how they shot some scenes in the TV show Severance. So we're listening to the actual editor. I don't know if he's like the main editor, because he did mention there were 3 of them, right? Severance editor Jeffrey Rickman reveals the editing techniques, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I don't know if he's like the lead editor or just one of the 3 that I think he mentioned.
In moving Mark running around the hallway. So this little piece of Mark running down the hallway starts with Drummond goes into the altar room, Mark comes down the hallway. So this was kind of like a floater. This was like, where can we place this so that we keep Mark running alive, but that still feels like organically connected to where we're going. And it just landed, when it landed here, it never left this spot because it just makes perfect sense. He's running, the next shot almost feels like his POV. It's like, it looks like we're approaching the wall, but then we turn the corner, it's like, oh no, we're down on the testing floor with Gemma. And it kind of like creates this grammar in the edit where it's like, Mark is running, where's he running? He's running to get to Gemma before she finishes the cold.
Man, I love these types of videos. God, we need more of these behind the scenes stuff, you know? Yeah. I want to spend time with editors. If you had to choose between the Christopher Nolan of the Christopher Nolans, so AKA Christopher Nolan, if you could spend time with Christopher Nolan, or if you could spend time with the Christopher Nolan of editing, who is, I don't know who that would be, or if you could spend time with the Christopher Nolan of, I guess, DP or cinematographers, I wonder who would be more interesting to spend time with and like learn from. I don't know if I have a good answer for that. I would, because like listening to this guy, it's so cool because like I feel like I'm understanding a bit more of he's sharing the thought process in a way that I find relatable, of like how do you tell a story visually with music, with everything else. And so finding the right way to cut from this to that and like the thought process behind it, I think it's fantastic.
Cold Harbor test, which is what she's arriving at right here. This, as scripted, is all one scene. She arrives at Cold Harbor and goes into Cold Harbor. But it's like we want to keep all the balls like in the air. And it's like she gets to Cold Harbor. There's so much intensity and emotion and expectation rooted in this moment that the best thing to do is let's leave it for a second and let that resonate. She's at Cold Harbor, but we're not going to go in just yet. And so breaking it up so that all of these ingredients can kind of stay alive with each other as long as we need them. The two anchor points that things started to get a little wobbly in the earlier cuts are Mark leaving MDR with the directions to the black hallway and Mark arriving at the black hallway, a 15-minute window of time where...
Okay, one quick struggle on my side here, trying to figure out which of these photos that I should work on. None of them are clean focus. So all of them have a bit of blur, or if there's no motion blur, the focus is not on the eyes. The closest that I have to a bit of focus on the eyes would be this shot here. However, it's also much brighter on the right side, which might be a little bit harder to kind of play with, possibly. And I don't know if composition-wise it looks as good. If I had to just kind of, as I'm kind of scrolling past all these images, I feel like one of these two is best composition. Like this might be the best one because it's not overly bright here. It might be easier to work with. You've got most of the gorilla's face inside of this opening, and it feels a bit more balanced. However, again, it's not sharp, but maybe that's okay because like this feels like a bit more of an abstract composition. So I think, talking it out loud, this might be the one I want to focus on. Alva says howdy, and Nikon update possibly October, August. So we got 2 more months. Okay. I need to know. Hopefully I can do some. Listen, technically, I guess if I'm doing something with them, if it's under NDA, I wouldn't be able to tell you guys, right? But I'm not that special, guys. Fed says the first DaVinci grading was for telecine work, color correcting film scanned to video in AT84. The original boards look a bit like the ones they make today. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars, damn. I wish I had the, Elvis says, I wish I had the 20 to 70 millimeter Z mount to try that effect. 20 to 70? Do you mean like the 24 to 70? Or am I missing something? Maybe I'm not aware of that lens. Depending on what tools you needed, the cost was from $100 to several $100,000. Jesus. Okay, let's keep watching, and then
it's like we need to do all these things, keep all these things in play, and land strongly at Mark at the altar room, and then the confrontation with Drummond. So it's like this little like whirlwind where it's like, here are all these ingredients that are going to be in play for the next half of the episode. Let's get back to the marching band, and sort of like. It's sort of like a welcome return to the marching band because we've established enough new mystery.
You know what? As I'm applying a preset on both of them just to visually see, I think both these images are good. I think I'll edit both of them because this one, it does feel salvageable based on whatever I do with the edits. And the gorilla's eyes, while it's not focused, the eyes are pointing in a more aesthetically pleasing direction. Subjectively speaking, I feel like the way the angles of the eyes are towards the right side of the frame, it just feels nicer compared to the prior image where the gorilla is looking a little bit further down towards the corner. And I wouldn't be able to tell you why, but I feel like this one actually feels nicer. Okay, we're going to edit both though, so let's see.
To then earn going back to the marching band as sort of a check-in, right? And then advance the story with Dylan arriving. The little piece that we do here is this crazy good performance from Trammell, from Milchick, where he just pounds the vending machine. And it's like, that was originally connected to the scene that comes later, but we needed to check back in with the marching band. And that was so intense on its own, that it actually deserved to be its own thing. So it's like, I mean, that is, when we come back to the marching band again, okay, we've done a song,
Man, I'm like relating to this guy more and more because you can feel, you can hear, you can feel the passion of this dude as he's kind of reliving some of these shots and how he edited and all that kind of stuff. But then I also find it somewhat relatable because I also feel kind of bad for him because this dude's job is to be sat in a corner or in some room, you know, probably very quiet with nobody else so he can focus on his edit. So it feels very much like a loner job. Whereas if you're obviously the cinematographer, if you're the director, you're in the limelight, you're in all this chaotic energy. It's a vibe, right? Meanwhile, this dude, I kind of relate a little bit of my. I'm not fully introverted, but man, I do relate to that feeling. And he's just so nerdy about it. I love it. But I don't know. It's like I feel bad. It looks like he's in this room by himself, and he never gets to see sunlight or other humans. And I relate to that.
Okay, we've done, when we come back to the marching band again, okay.
Fett says, so with that cost, and back in '84, this was of course something the film company bought, so say Warner Brothers bought it for their graders, gotcha. $100,000 in '84 is around $350K today, Jesus.
We've done a song that focuses on Mark and Haley and Milchick. We've done the plot point of the vending machine. We've come back for some crazy Milchick pounding the vending machine. It's like, now what? There was originally actual dialogue lines in this next marching band scene where Milchick is like at the top of the vending machine trying to talk to them. It just becomes all about just chaos. And it's like the chaos and the intensity. And it's like, we don't even play the sound. It's literally just jump cuts, band, no sound, no dialogue. You see him even saying stuff, but you don't hear it. And it's like, that was our way in the edit of like going up to the next level and having something that's different than anything we saw before. The stripping the audio out of this scene just like has such an impact where it's like, it's not about anything that's being.
All right, I got my cat coming over here. I think she wants to say hi. Hey, Nala. Yes? Want to come here? You want to hang out with me? Okay, come on. Come on, pretty girl. Oy, 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 oy. Ugh. Now I gotta reposition myself. Pretty girl, pretty girl. Ugh. Hold on. Is it the other way? How do I sit to let her hang out and not make my foot fall asleep? There you go. Good girl. What else you want to say? I need to get more ASMR of my cat. Imagine if we had to pay $350K to be able to color grade. Jesus, that was just the base version. We had to pay $700K more to get the full version. Yeah. What do you think, Nala? Good girl. All right, let's keep going. I gotta wrap up this photo here.
Said it's just a feeling. All of this energy then like has a positive ripple effect on this, because then it's like it all gets infused into this, and sort of like he is this close to getting to Cold Harbor. When Ben and I were working on this scene, this shot is phenomenal. Like his performance here is amazing. It's another one similar to like him talking about Gemma during the birthing cabin scene, where it's like you kind of just want to hold on it. Here's the interesting thing about this. This is not Gemma. This is someone who was basically just born a few minutes earlier when she walked into the Cold Harbor room. And so the initial pass of this scene is sort of like playing the emotion on Mark and this version of Gemma equally, where it's like her being scared and like being confronted with this guy bloody saying he's her husband. But then obviously the super intense emotion of Mark seeing Gemma for the first time since she died. But the problem is that because this isn't actually Gemma, there isn't actually emotion that we are invested in her shots. We had all the angles. We had close-ups, we had wide, we had pans from him to her. This was a choice in the edit. And so what we did in the edit is we shifted the perspective so that the emotion plays primarily on Mark, and the shots of Gemma are through the monitor that Jaime and Mauer are watching. So it's about keeping Jaime and Mauer alive, seeing her reaction, but it's not playing her in close-up the way we are playing Mark, because there is no emotion that we sort of understand there. She's not a character that we care about. That was something sort of we discovered in the edit, which is sort of like, oh wait, that's not a character we care about. It's like, so you can't just sort of like impose that emotion on the audience. One of my favorite moments in the entire season, there's two. There's this. Yeah, let me line them up. Yeah, this is one of my favorite moments in the entire season right here. Like we were talking about before, like with the birthing cabin and like the severed transitions, how it's like Adam's performance shows us these changes that happen in his character. And it's this moment right here where Gemma is on the other side of the door. Helly hasn't even shown up yet, right? But he starts to like all the sort of like thoughts from earlier in the season of like how he's basically has to like trust that he's gonna come back, this reintegration thing that doesn't really fully trust. And we see Helly from Gemma's POV. So it's like the other woman moment. And it's like we're intentionally over Mark's shoulder to see Helly. And now it's like, it ups the like stakes of like what he would lose if he steps through the door. Part of him is already questioning if he wants to go through. But then once Helly is there, this moment coming up is just right here. Oh yeah, change on his face is just phenomenal. You talk about anchor points. Those two shots are a huge anchor point in this scene where it's like, you want to get to that moment. And it's like in the dailies, like
dailies,
all of his performances are great, but there was like one take.
Another day, another time I hear the term dailies. So it's clearly a very important thing involved with filmmaking, which we'll learn more about, I'm sure.
In particular, where it was like that, earning that moment. And it's like understanding all the choices that are going through his head right now and like making this resonate. Once he makes that decision, it's all just sort of like playing up the intensity of what she sees happening with him wanting to go back to Helly. We played around a little bit with like where this final song is gonna come in. Originally, I think like in the first pass, I had the song come in like at the next beat, which is them starting to run. So it's like right around here, I had the song starting. And Ben kept saying, no, start earlier, start earlier, start earlier, to the point where it's like, it starts now right when he turns around, which in hindsight, obviously like makes perfect sense because that's the moment. That's like, we're done. He's done with Gemma. He's not, there's no more decision making. He's like fully committed to staying with Helly. The freeze frame was an idea that Ben had fairly early on from before they shot the running. That was all meant to end with this freeze frame. And not just the freeze frame, specifically the idea of it feeling like a film from the 60s where it's like an optical freeze frame, where it's like this was actually transferred to film. It wasn't a visual effects filter or anything. This was actually like the final shot was transferred to film. So you see the film grain as you are moving in like an optical effect. Like all of this is like film grain. And then when it goes to red, all of that solid red is not just pure digital video red. It's like this all went through the film process. So that's why you get this really great, like you see the little film texture. And then the whole end credit sequence that Teddy Blanks did was also transferred to film. So it all has this uniform like feeling.
Nice, nice, man. feeling motivated to be a part of Hollywood now. Fed says they really did it for real. Nice. Yeah, I mean, it is cool whenever they explain how it wasn't visual effects or like, you know, CGI.
Thank you for taking the...
How the cast of Severance got inside our heads. Acting breakdown. Ooh, okay.
Welcome survey. I can sense that the questions made you feel afraid or disoriented. Well, the good news is you're at an orientation.
Let's talk about Severance, you guys. I need to talk about it. Season 2's over, and like many viewers, I need to decompress and reintegrate.
Open the door.
Step off. Out.
Do it.
No!
Now.
No!
Do it.
No!
Go.
No!
Go.
No!
The show's unique premise is not only dramatically satisfying, offering a window into the different layers of identity, but it's also an incredible challenge for the actors involved. Ever since I started watching, I was just itching to know how an actor would tackle the unique circumstances of playing multiple versions of a character. I mean, it's been done before in different ways. You got, what, Eddie Murphy and the Nutty Professor? And I think that's it. That's the only time this has ever happened.
In some countries, it's considered a compliment.
You know, in the good old days, there might be a plethora of special features or audio commentary on, I don't know, a physical copy of a film or TV show. There is actually a physical copy of Severance in Season 1. Nothing on it. Absolutely nothing. No, all this cool stuff is just severed all over the place, whether it's official behind-the-scenes videos from Apple, cast interviews, podcasts. There's a Severance podcast, by the way. I had no idea. So I snooped around, opened some doors, and in addition to the odd goat or two...
Emil is the name of the goat.
Oh, okay. I found some insightful interviews from the actors involved going into detail on all the research and prep work and talking about their characters and what they're feeling, the acting methods they've employed to create them, and I just want to share them with you. We'll also talk a little bit about how their previous roles in film and television may have impacted their performances. But before we get into it, this video will contain spoilers of both Seasons 1 and 2.
Oh my god, spoiler alert, please.
So if you prefer to remain severed, I mean, just don't watch this. This is for Lumen eyes only.
This isn't like...
I might pause it there anyways. Hold on. I just want to see. There's a quicker video to watch as I finish up this photo. Oh yeah, let's watch this one. Why I almost always shoot in the harsh midday sun. It did intrigue me with that title, so... Let's hear this person out for his insanity.
A big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video. If you need a website or a domain, go to squarespace.com/James for 10% off your first purchase. Is that right? Hello everybody, how's it going? Hope you're all well. And welcome back to the channel. A channel which is now in its 10th year, believe it or not. And in that time I've made 400 plus videos. Might be more than that, might be 450. Who cares? I've made lots of videos and I've decided that I should therefore start taking this channel a bit more seriously. And so I have. I've bought a C-stand, which means for the first time ever, I think, we've got a proper top-down shot. Who knows if I'll use it? I hope I do, because this C-stand is massive. And this room is tiny, and I keep banging into it. So.
Oh, I've seen some video by this guy before. Am I following him? I've definitely watched a video from this guy because I remember his background set. We might even watch one of his videos on stream because I forget what comments I was making. I think it was when I was paying more attention to like different background studio setups. If I can recall, if I were to guess what I was saying at the time, Fed says this guy's so as obsessed with film processes as I am. Well, shout out to him. I forget his name already, but Severance guy. If I had to guess what I talked about with this video, it was something about, I like the wide angle. I like this kind of split coloring where he had this bluish tone coming off on the left side of his room and then like the warm tones over on the right. If I had a criticism, it was the fact that I feel these types of photo frames on the walls, it bothers the ever-living shit out of me. It could be OCD, I don't know what it is, but anytime you see a bunch of these photo frames, if the one of the photos is off by just a little bit in terms of like the alignment, I feel like it breaks everything. So I can kind of see here, one of the photos feels a little bit tilted, and so it's not as even. And I don't know, it bothers me, man. So that's the one thing I can think about. But this is a cool set.
I use it. Anyway, the question I'm asked most these days is, James, where are the kids? To which I normally respond, but the question or the topic I'm asked most about after the whereabouts of my kids is how I go about shooting in bright conditions. And if you're new to this channel, if you don't know who I am, I shoot, if not exclusively, I'd say 95% of the time these days, in blue skies, harsh shadows, midday sun.
That's crazy.
And I think the reason I'm asked about this more than anything else is probably because this isn't considered massively conventional in photography, outside of kind of street photography where people really revel in harsh shadows. Sometimes I shoot in cities, but more often than not I am in some kind of nature. And even so, I love shooting in these conditions. So I thought today what I could do is talk a little bit about some of the things I think about when I'm doing so, in order to get the kinds of photos I want from those conditions, which can be quite challenging to shoot in. So that's the name of the game today. Right, first tip, and something I've talked about extensively before on this channel, and something that applies to all the photos that I'm going to show you today, I think, is that I always shoot with the sun in front of me.
Also, it's kind of cool what he's doing here, where Fett says he's made some nice videos about printing. Gotcha. I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool that he's printed his own photos and then using like this overhead angle to show us it. That's actually a really cool concept, to analog the digital, I guess. So, because I guess the only way I would be able to do it for myself is obviously I would have to screen share or screen record my screen as I'm going through, let's say, Lightroom and showing the photos. This just feels a lot more interesting. So I guess another quick thought for myself if I do certain videos like this, but the only issue is I don't know how to print. I don't have a printer. The extra effort might be worth it, but I'd have to figure out how to do it. So his other videos were usually him hiking out in beautiful landscapes, showing him waiting for the right moment and light, and then shooting his shots, then him editing at home after. All right. Well, I think I like this then.
180 degrees in front of me. Said more simply, I never want the sunshine on my back. Said more simply than that, I always want to be able to see shadows in whatever it is that I'm shooting. And the reason for that, and as you can see in these photos here, you can see all the shadows. You've got a shadow down here, shadow down here, shadow here, shadow here. And the reason I care so much about being able to see shadows in my scene is that then you guarantee yourself depth in your scene. If the sun is on your back, if you can't see shadows, it means that your scene is going to be quite evenly lit. And if your scene is evenly lit, it's going to lack depth. So that's kind of an overarching principle to everything I'm going to talk about today. The sun needs to be kind of in front of me somewhere. And of course, like everything in photography, there are exceptions, but the vast majority of the time, that's what I'm looking for from the direction of the sun. Okay, next principle. By the way, all these photos I've taken over the past few months, I've just been sort of assessing what I've been up to the past few months, because I was feeling yesterday like I hadn't really achieved much. So I wanted to go through my photos and see what I'd been up to. And largely it looks like I've been just shooting silhouettes on beaches, which I do like to do, but I've done an awful lot of it this year. I might need to change it up at some point. But these photos here I think do a good job of explaining another principle that I like to consider when I'm out shooting in these conditions, which is luxury. They say that luxury can be defined by light and space, and all the photos that we're talking about today have been shot in an abundance of light. That's the point of the video. But I find pairing that abundance of light with lots and lots of space works really, really well. And light, sunlight particularly, is something that we as human beings crave. And I think space is much the same. So being able to provide those two things together, I think does work really well. And so practically speaking, when I'm out shooting, I'm often thinking about how wide can I get away with shooting here? How much sky can I get away with including in the scene without losing a sense of what the subject is, without the subject getting swallowed up in the vastness of,
I mean, his photos are really nice.
And I think if you take any of these scenes and made them much tighter, I don't think they would work quite as well.
I mean, not all of them.
I think really.
I mean, not to be nitpicky. I think this photo is fantastic. It's beautiful. This one here, I think it's just whatever. I'm not sure why. I don't really think I like the composition on this one. And the next one's nice.
bright light is complemented by an abundance of space. So yes, negative space, typically in the sky, I think works really, really well. I should say also that lots of these photos that I'm showing you today are from the coast, they're from beaches. That is because predominantly that's where I like to shoot, and it does work really nicely for bright light as well. I don't think you need to be at the coast to shoot in bright light, but I do think the clean horizons lend themselves perfectly to these kinds of conditions. And I don't know actually which I discovered a love for first, bright light or shooting at the coast, but they do work well together. So yes, light and space is pleasing on the face.
Lights and space is pleasing on the
kids
face.
Are back. They definitely are. So we might be interrupted at some point, but I'll keep talking until we inevitably are. And I'll bring this one back to talk very briefly actually about bright skies, because I'm always asked about bright skies and I love bright skies. I find that bright, basically detailless skies are fantastic for drawing your attention towards the subject itself, because there's no distraction. So I really, really like them. But when you're shooting at the coast specifically, you need to be really careful with bright skies, because you can't always...
I'm really liking this video because it is definitely very different from, I guess, the way I've thought of shooting photography. So I'm learning a lot, and it's making me reassess maybe different ways to shoot. Again, harsh midday lighting, I didn't think I would want to ever be in that situation, but he's making it look really good. Yo, we got sorry, I don't know how to pronounce. Shantanu says hi over on YouTube. Thank you very much for saying hi. Thanks for popping into the stream here. I'm just wrapping up, but I'm almost finished with some gorilla photos. I probably need at least one more day of editing to finish all the gorilla photos from my trip. But this photo actually, man, it is shaping up. I'm super happy. I was struggling in the middle of this, but I think I've gotten it to a point where it's like, yo, again, this is going to end up being one of my fire hero images. It's definitely something I wouldn't mind printed once we're finished. I mean, there's a few different directions here. I still have to, a few decisions I still have to make creatively where we want to take this, but it's I'm kind of excited with this one. I didn't expect it. Fed says, yeah, I used to watch him a lot back in the day when I did photography. Yeah, I mean, I like him. I like his I like that he's not taking himself too seriously in these videos. It's something I struggle with. I would love to be able to infuse a bit more lighthearted humor into my YouTube videos, but I don't think I haven't fully figured it out yet how to do so without coming off as like scripted, you know? This is why I've been enjoying these live streams, because the live streams allow me to just kind of talk off the cuff without a care in the world. And hopefully you guys can get a sense that I don't take myself seriously at some points of it. But I think he's doing a good job of being lighthearted. Shantanu says, did you add the blurs or is that just raw? This over on the right and on the left, it was raw. What I was struggling with within Lightroom was trying to make it feel like it blends a little bit better with the center image, and softening it up a bit. So I'll show you the entire before and after, Shantanu. I'm just on near the final stages of this photo edit. I'm using Dehancer. So I use my presets within Lightroom. I did some extra masking. Then I bring it into Dehancer, which is a plugin for Lightroom. And I've really been enjoying this. I've been saying this every freaking stream at this point for the past 2-3 weeks. But I use Dehancer to kind of give a nice filmic look. But then I also add some texture with some of the grain, some of the halation or bloom effects. They have some other built-in film looks that I've been thoroughly enjoying. I play around with the film compression and some other sliders over on the right, which we're going to do in a second. But yeah, this photo has been turning out really nice. I'll show you. I'll show you the full thing. This is why we do the streams. This Kodak Aero Color 4125 tends to be one of my favorites. And then this Fujicolor Superior 1600 is like a slight variation of it. And then sometimes I kind of just hop around to see which one has a bit more of a faded look. And is that the approach I want to take? Which one has a bit more of a contrasty look? I think I prefer this faded look. So we're going to go with the Superior. And then I usually turn on the film compression. And then we'll see. Sometimes I like to, for my video edits, I tend to slide the tonal range all the way to the right and then bring the white point back ever so slightly until I feel like it's nice. So I could do it like this, where now the white areas are a bit more highlighty. I don't know what the right term is, but it feels more kind of glowy, in your face, bright contrast. Versus the default state is a bit more across the board. I probably will do something like this. We'll see in a second. Let me reset that for now. Let's apply one of these print profiles. So I usually turn on this analog range limiter if it's showing that it's underexposed somewhere. So we just lift the blacks by clicking on that. Kodak Endura glossy paper tends to give me the look that feels the most natural or like related to the shot already. But then I've been enjoying the Kodak 2383 and the Fujifilm 3513 if I want like a more creative shot. And this one could work with a creative look and feel because it is a bit more abstract. It's a, you know, punched in close-up shot, but you get all this like blurriness around it. So I could see a world where maybe I do want one of these options. I'm not sure if I'm at that world yet. So let me just play around with this a bit more until I feel there's something there. I think I prefer this kind of color to the greens. So if I can maintain that somehow, that'd be great. Now the problem is when I play with the tonal range as much as I did on this one, there's a bit of like an icy feel to this. The way the light shines off the nose and the coolness of the colors there. I'm not sure if I want to go with like an icy look, right? So I may end up just hopping back to this Kodak Endura. And I might not necessarily play with this film compression too much. Let's go ahead and apply the bloom. Halation doesn't seem to do much on this image. We're going to put on the film grain. And then the tonal contrast maybe? Yeah, we're going to darken this up just a bit. Blah, blah, blah. Color density maybe? Yeah, we're going to increase the density just a bit. And then, yeah, let me start to increase that tonal range and then play with it a bit more. Now, the interesting thing here, if we do it this way, we get a bit of light bouncing off on the right and we get the light bouncing off the top left and, of course, in the center. So it could feel a bit more balanced when we do it this way because I feel like there's a decent amount of like light bouncing across each third of the image. And you can kind of see it's like a diagonal third across. So it kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to really properly explain it. Fed says he will take his old work and trash it too. He's very critical of himself sometimes. I can relate to that. Now, one thing I did mention for a future YouTube video, I do want to go back to some of my original, I want to go back to some of the photos I took from years ago and then re-edit them and, you know, make a YouTube video out of it. Because it'd be fun to see how far we've come or not. Shantanu says, I'm a student and currently shoot on my phone, but I was considering buying the Sony a6100X. I haven't heard that one. What do you say a good budget camera is? Ooh, well, I mean, Shantanu says, by the way, you got a glare on your face camera. That I know. So basically what's happening here is I'm using the Elgato teleprompter on the front of my camera, which works nicely for whenever I have to make a YouTube video with the script, let's say. But then also there was a nice feature here. The problem is I'm on a YouTube video with a super bright white screen. So when I do have that bright white screen, it does create that bit of a reflection. So right now, for instance, I don't have that. So then it looks nice. There's a nice like bloomy, like glowy effect from this teleprompter's glass. So then it adds this like nice filtered effect without me having to do any visual effects or anything like that, which I thought was cool. So it's a soft look. However, if I'm watching a YouTube video and I do have the Chrome browser open here and it's like a super bright scene, yeah, then unfortunately you get this ugly little thing here. But, you know, I'm okay with that. It's whatever. It's temporary. So, but thanks for pointing it out. I am aware of it. I just, I don't have a proper solution for it. Peter Hunter says, go for the Sony a6600 with IBIS. Interesting. Yeah, so Shantanu, I think that's a good suggestion. When I started photography, I started with the Sony a6000 and I still to this day, I have a lot of photos that I took from it, even in JPEG, not even shooting RAW, that I've been able to blow up onto a big poster. So I'm a big believer that any of these cameras you can get high quality results from, and you can learn a lot from it. I do recommend not necessarily getting the best quality camera if you're a student or if you're learning, because you want to learn, right? That's the whole point. It's like, imagine you're saying you're shooting with your iPhone or with a phone. You're letting the phone do all the work for you, so you don't ever get to really learn the importance of how to shape light or how to control your light through the different settings, like the ISO, shutter speed, aperture, whatever else. So if you have a super powerful camera like that newly announced Sony FX5, for example, although that doesn't do photography, the problem is you skip a really crucial step of the development, which is like having to struggle through making mistakes and not having the best camera to give you a handicap. I started with the Sony a6000. There's a lot of things that's amazing about it. There's a lot of things that it doesn't do really well. So it forced me to have to learn either how to get rid of some of the imperfections in post when I'm editing, or learning how to take care of my camera better, things like that. If there is a rule that I could apply towards what is a good way to think about, because everyone's budget's different, right? Let me share. I don't know if this is my own rule. I was going to make a video on this, but it's the iPhone rule. So to me, it's just, I feel like anytime you look at you should start with what's the price of the latest iPhone, whatever it is, iPhone 18, 19, 20. Look at the price of that in your market. Let's say it cost, I don't know, $1,000, right? If it's $1,000 to get the latest iPhone, in my mind, if I'm going to purchase a dedicated camera, that camera has to be at least $1,000. And the decision behind it, it's not a perfect science or perfectly logical, but it's more like, okay, if you spend $1,000 on a smartphone, which is multifunctional, it's not necessarily a dedicated camera, but it has camera features, and the camera features are excellent, but the phone, you're buying it because it does all these other things, right? It's a computer in your pocket. So then, if I spend $1,000 on a smartphone, I know I'll get a certain quality of captures for photography. Now, if I were to spend $1,000 that's for a dedicated camera, my assumption in this basic logic that I've created, which is, not tested, I would assume $1,000 dedicated towards something that's for the function of photography is probably going to be better than $1,000 on a product that does photography, but the function is multivariate, it does all kinds of other things. So I would trust the product that's where every dollar I put into it is meant to do this one task, which is photography. That was like the thought process. So I think at the time when I bought my first camera, it was literally roughly around $1,000 to get a new iPhone. And I decided, let me get a Sony a6000, which was about $500 for the body at the time. And then I spent another $500 for a really nice prime lens. I think it was a 35 millimeter f1.4 or something like that, which, when you put it on the Sony a6000, it's an APS-C sensor, so it's a bit more punched in. Like it might have been like a 50 millimeter equivalent on a full frame. So anyways, that was my logic. Let me spend $1,000 for dedicated camera stuff compared to spending $1,000 on an iPhone. Otherwise, if I spend less than that, and if I find out that the iPhone quality is much better than my dedicated camera, I feel like that was a waste of money, right? Or I'd feel more like that. So yeah, anyways, whatever, I don't know if that logic still holds. Let's say if the iPhone 18 or something cost $1,500, well then same logic. I'd be like, let me spend maybe whatever, $1,000 on the camera body, and then $500 on like a proper, lens to try out. Another suggestion I have when it comes to, okay, what about the lens? I would recommend shooting with a fixed prime lens. One, it's more exciting because the quality might be much better. So Peter Hunter in the chat said Sigma Contemporary 1.4 35 millimeter. So one, when you shoot with that prime lens, you're probably going to get better quality than with a zoom lens that covers the same focal length. So then one, you might be more excited by the shots you take, which is really important when you're starting off in this hobby. You want to have moments where you feel more passionate about and excited about the things you're creating, which it feeds the fuel to continue this hobby, and so that you don't give up. But then number two, it also helps you to understand more about the importance of these different focal lengths. When you're shooting with the zoom lens, or even when you shoot with your iPhone, you have the ability to zoom in, zoom out. So you can just stand in one place and always get whatever you want. But the problem is you have so many options that you never know what is actually best. So whereas if you have like a fixed, let's say a 35 millimeter focal length, you have to move physically yourself in the world to figure out the best capture. And at times you'll have to zoom, walk forward, walk backwards, whatever. So it forces a perspective on you, which helps you to learn for that perspective. And so it's better to kind of strengthen and kind of focus in on that one particular lens, get really good at it, and then you can move on to other lenses and so on. So anyways, a bit of a long explainer, but excited for you, man. And thanks again for hopping into the chat to ask this question. I do like providing insights if I can. But yeah, I'm a Nikon shooter. So I shoot with my Nikon ZRs in the past. So I went from a Sony a6000 to a Nikon D810. I know at the time the 750 DSLR was considered really good, but I ended up going to the D810 DSLR for landscape photography at the time. Then I jumped over to a Nikon D850. Then I went into mirrorless with the Z6. Then I got the Z9, then the Nikon Z6 III, and now I have the Nikon ZR because I've started to shift from photography over towards videography and cinematography stuff. So yeah. Fed says, there's no reason in this day and age to learn to shoot without IBIS since most cameras do have it now. I'd buy a used camera if I was getting my first for photography, a used camera in good shape. That's a good point as well. Yeah, that's totally correct. I think my first few cameras I purchased were used. So the Sony a6000 and the Nikon D810 I bought used. And generally speaking, photographers take good care of their cameras, right? So you would hope that you should be able to find some pretty good quality used cameras in the market. Shantanu says, so I upload my pic on Pexel. Pexel, I don't know. Will you be able to check them out and give some pointers? I don't have that, but if you if you join my Discord, this is a nice way to plug myself organically. If you join the Discord, I'm always trying to grow that Discord community, but feel free to share your images there. There's a channel for like photos, or you can send a link, and then either during the stream or just offline, happy to kind of work through it. Just depends on what I'm working on at the time. At some point, I'll be more, as we grow properly, I'll definitely make it like a paid dono type thing. It's like, hey, if you donate X dollars, I'll edit your photo or review your photo on stream. But we're not that big yet to be able to warrant or demand such a feature. But yeah, feel free, man. Send over stuff. We've had people do this all the time, and I'll try to review. I'll give my thoughts. It's my 2 cents. Fed says, one of my nephews got into photography about 2 years ago, so I handed him an old Lumix GX85 with a 21.7. That's 40 in full frame. Just a camera I had laying around. I don't use anymore. I mean, that's I wish I was gifted a camera when I was young. Damn. Who knows where we would be? Yeah. All right, let me keep watching this real quick. Let me finish this edit here, and then we can talk through it.
So these bottom 2 photos, I could get away with them because the sun was so high in the sky, the water was calm, and therefore the water was incredibly reflective. And when the water is bright itself, the sky can then be really, really bright. But these top 2 photos, it's not possible to have a really, really bright sky because the ocean isn't really, really bright. This photo on the left was shot 2 or 3 hours maybe before sunset. The one on the right was shot 2 or 3 hours after sunrise. So the sun isn't quite as high in the sky, the water isn't quite as calm, it's therefore darker, and the sky therefore needs to reflect that. You can't just get away with having super bright skies regardless of whatever else is in the scene. It needs to match. Anyway, tiny bit off topic that one, but it will inform how you expose and or edit. So it's important all the same.
Okay, let me see. So this is my current phase of one of the edits I was doing. Let's just compare it to some of the other options of some of my saved presets within Dehancer to see if we have a winner. This one's nice. It's a bit more muted, less colors, but focusing more on the lighting. This one's a bit too flat for my taste. This one's way too saturated and too bright and saturated. So if I had to choose between the variations I've done within Dehancer in the past that I've saved, I would say this one is decent. It's a bit more muted in terms of the colors. Or So let's compare this. So this is my current edits, and then this is the more muted one. Let me just kind of walk between the two. This one also doesn't have any film grain applied to it. Compared to this one, I did apply the 35mm grain. I mean, this is very subjective. I do like this kind of more desaturated look for what it's worth, but I feel like I'm leaning towards the other one more. Let's see. This one versus this one. Decisions. Here, okay, let me play with this one a bit. Shantanu says, got it, me too. Fetz is worth noting, nothing now. It's worth nothing now. I had tried to get credit for it at the camera store, but they were not interested. Nice. They'll pay you to leave. It's a perfectly fine camera and great for learning photography. I agree. Okay. If I stick to this one, what can we do to puff it up a bit more? Maybe not that.
It's not really off topic, is it? Bright skies, yeah. Okay, next up. This is a big one. I find, personally, that even though I want the sun in 180 degrees in front of me, I don't want it in my frame.
I don't want
And if the sun itself is in my frame, unless it's behind heavy, heavy haze, I find it quite ugly. So I want it to be in front of me, but I don't want it to be in my frame, which is challenging often if I'm trying to shoot relatively wide to get lots and lots of space around my subject. So I typically want big skies, and if you want big skies without the sun in them, you are restricted in terms of where you can shoot. So this is challenging. It's much, much harder, I find, to shoot at these times of day than it is to shoot in gold now when everything is soft. But I do find it worthwhile when it comes off. And actually, this is quite a cool shot. This looks like golden hour, but this is probably 2 or 3 hours before golden hour started.
I will say I respect this guy's creative decision to shoot in this harsh midday sun. I do respect it a lot. I don't think it's for me though. I think I mean, listen, getting those the golden hour colors are really great. It seems like he does a lot of landscape related shots. So I think the harsh midday concept works well for that when you have this big scale. But for the types of stuff that I shoot, let's say if it's like wildlife, when I want to capture the animals, it's most likely I'm not shooting them as like a miniaturized, dot or silhouette on a big canvas. It's probably going to be a close-up where you see their eyes and the facial features and other things. And for that, I feel that the lower lighting or like the golden hour times lends itself really well to getting soft features on the face and giving nice shadows across the face at times. So, but yeah, I like his photos.
Storm clouds came in, and outside of the sun bursting through, it made everything look much darker and more golden than it should have for the time of day. So that was quite interesting. By the way, this paper is my favourite paper ever. If you've ever bought a print from me...
I'm so jealous. I want a British accent, or whatever this accent is. Shantanu, if you're still here, I'm finally done with the edits over on Dehancer. So once it loads up here, I can show you the before and after. Okay, so we got this one. This was here, and let's go ahead and create one more version. Reset. All right. Okay, so Shantanu, if you're still here and you had asked that question, it feels like ages ago, but you did ask me something about did I apply the blur and the other effects before? Let me see. Did you add the blurs or is that just raw? So direct response to your question now is this is the raw shots without any edits. This is how it looked, right? So I'll just full screen it for a second. So we had this as the kind of, it was just in the moment. I was shooting through the foliage. So I was in the jungle. Gorilla was coming up. What lens was this? 85 maybe? Oh, no. Interesting. Okay, so I shot this with my 400mm lens and I had the teleconverter turned on. So I shot this at 560mm at f4.0, ISO 2200 at 1/200th of a second. So it was a pretty slow shutter speed. So that's why you'll notice it's kind of blurry. It's not like a tack sharp image, but no matter. So anyways, we had this shot. Gorilla was moving through the foliage and I was shooting through the foliage. So that's why you end up getting all this kind of blurry green colors over on the right, because that was literally just a big ass leaf. And then I'm not exactly sure why this part of the image was the color that it was. This is what I struggled with, because this portion right here on the left side, it felt a little bit out of place from the green foreground blurriness. So yeah, if you were watching me in real time, I was going back and forth trying to figure out how the hell do I work with this part of it. So then anyways, with this original, I popped it through my presets. I ultimately found, actually, I wonder if I can show literally step by step. I think I can, right? If you go, yeah, cool. I like this feature. So then basically I applied some denoise. This is the preset that I put on initially. It's one of my presets called Mountain Stallion. So it was from a horse photo I edited previously. So I used this preset, which brought down the lighting on that green. And so it helped kind of reveal the image a bit better. So I didn't mind the green tone on the right, but the problem is on the left, we were getting this weird like pinkish coloring. So then I kind of struggled. I was playing with the curves a little bit initially, play with the contrast. And then I started to bring down so I focused on the right side first, right? So I was bringing down the lighting, trying to see where we get it to something that looks good. Hold on one second. Fed says, yeah, I shoot video sometimes in midday lighting. It's nice to get that certain beach vibe, but I never really shot photos in that light. It's interesting that he shoots in midday light now. In the past, when he did nature and rural, he was very particular about light and went out before the sun often. I mean, yeah, that's a typical thing, right? As a landscape photographer, or just like most photographers, you'd be going, you'd wake up before the sun, basically. But it's kind of nice. If that's his niche, to do this like harsh midday lighting, technically he doesn't really have to compete against other photographers. So you've definitely found a niche that no one's going to fight for you in terms of getting the right spots. But the only issue though is if you're shooting in urban environments, you're probably gonna have a lot more people out and about enjoying the sun. So, things to weigh. Anyways, so I was editing through this. Once I got this down, then I added some additional linear gradients where I was adding a bit more fade. And then here, I think is when I was struggling, like I said, with the left side of the image. So I played around with the greens. Then on the left side, I was trying to figure out how to play with this part. And again, it just like stood out so differently. It was clearly not green, but it seems like it was catching a lot of the purple fringing from the gorilla behind it. So it just made it feel like something else. I'm not sure how to explain it. It just looked like it stood out differently. So I was trying to figure out, do I desaturate it? Can I change the colors on this so it matches the green? For the life of me, I couldn't get this to match the green colors of the rest of the image. So I was struggling forever on that. And then what did I eventually do? Eventually, because I was playing with the dehaze, I was playing with the contrast, the everything, the tint, the hue, temperature. And then where do we finally get the solution to this? Jesus. At some point, yeah, I was like, do I just dehaze the entirety of this and just make it a pitch, like a pure white kind of blur? But even that didn't necessarily look great. So then I play with that some more. Boom, boom, boom. I think this is just a radial gradient. My God. And I think I deleted that at some point, and then I switched over to a linear gradient. And then here we go. We eventually... Where was that pivotal moment? Right around here, yeah? So at this point, I realized, let me just blast the entirety of it and just make it a cool tone and fade it out. And so yeah, this was the final edit I did on this image. Then I brought it into Dehancer, did the extra magic within Dehancer, and here we go. We got the final capture here. Which I really like. It's turned into something very artistic. It's a super kind of like abstract feel to it. This also feels like a shot that I could see I would want to print and like full, blast this on the wall or something. I might do a bit more edits to this though. I'm not sure. I mean, I think it looks good, but sometimes, you know, you just want to keep playing with things. Maybe I shouldn't. I should probably leave it as is. It looks good. I like this a lot. I can't help myself though. Ooh, you know what? Even in this also is a good contender for doing black and white, because again, it's such an abstract and a bunch of like weird blurriness that, hold on a minute, hold your horses. Let's create a duplicate and we're going to keep this like this. We're going to do I don't know if, should I do full black and white? Let's see. You know what? This could also look interesting if I... Ooh, hold on a minute. Okay, let's create another duplicate. What if we can retain... I wonder if I can retain the amber colors in the eyes. For whatever reason, I find when I do black and red seem to go really well together. So if I can include somehow a bit of the red from the eyes, if I bring it back while reducing the colors everywhere else. Let's see what we can do.
I've been on one of...
For this, let me just play normal music. I gotta lock in on this one. Fed says, yeah, he must have got tired of shooting classic landscapes and wanted to challenge himself. I respect it a lot. Okay, so let's see. What if I reduce the saturation across some of these? Across the blues. Across the greens. But can I bring in... Dang it, there's not enough color coming through from the eyes. It's like somehow being caught with the blue tone. Alright, let's see what I can do. I think it's worth trying to pursue this further, because there's like a possibility where if I can retain a little, not like super red or orangey, but if there's just enough of the colors remaining on the eyes while maintaining mostly a black and white feel, I could be really happy with the results, possibly. But it's a big if. Let's go ahead and test it out. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, let's see if I can get the other eye. There might not be enough in there to do anything with. Let's see. No, I think the left, the other eye is a little bit too difficult to try to make this work, I think. What if we just drop it down just a bit? Okay, let me start bringing back the colors a little bit. So we're not going to make it fully black and white in this version, but I just want to like start scaling in the colors one by one. Okay. Okay. I think this is the version I like. I think so. So I decided, well, I mean, I'm going to keep one version that is proper, like basically just black and white. Yeah. So I'm going to keep one version like this. I might lift the, actually, let's just do it now. But I'm going to lift the eye colors or the brightness a little bit on the eye. So it stands out just ever so slightly. Nothing too crazy though. It's just let me just add a bit of texture to it. Okay. All right, so we got version 1, which is black and white. And then we got version 2, which is with color slightly muted on some of the colors, like on the greens and the blue, but and also retaining some of that amber colors in the eyes. And yeah, perfect. Yo, I like this one quite a bit. Man, today we got some bangers. We got some winners in some of these images, in my humble opinion. But I'm not feeling humble right now. I'm feeling humble bragging. We got some epic shots here, man. Okay, and this one I guess I didn't crop at all. So technically there was one more image I said I was going to edit, which was this one. But I think we put in so much work on this version and I quite like this one. So hold on, which ones did I edit? It's these two, yeah? So this one is not the main one. It'll be this one. Okay. So 5-star this and that one. Then let's take the original image, which is this one. Make it purple. Boom. All right, let's start recapping a little bit of what we got done. So this is the final image of today, I think, that we'll edit. So this was the original shot. You know, in the moment when I took the shot, I don't think I thought I captured anything. And then when I was looking at this image within Lightroom, I did save this. Like, this is why we're working on this photo right now. I did save it for a possibility. I was like, maybe there's something I can do with this shot, or upon further inspection, I'll double check if there's enough, if I was tack sharp on the eyes, or there's something I can salvage. But I didn't necessarily think this would be a shot that was worth fully editing. So it was kind of like one of those, you know, TBD, let's figure it out. However, I'm glad I didn't give up on this image because, as we said, after I put it through all the edits, I got this as a result, and I freaking love this. I don't get a lot of opportunities to take these kind of shots where, thankfully, because the original image itself had all this like natural blur built into the shot because of the foreground with the foliage, it meant I didn't have to figure out creatively that I should be doing something like this. It was kind of baked into the shot itself. So I didn't have to worry about adding so much extra blur. All I had to do was amplify the blur that was already surrounding the face of the gorilla. And so then, anyways, I got to lean into that, which creates this very abstract, creative style, which I wish I was smart enough or creative enough to always think about. But here we are. We stumbled upon it. I like it. And so, yeah, so we got this version. And then there's a black and white version, which I think also feels so interesting because of all that haziness surrounding the shot. Very pleasantly surprised with how this turned out as well, mainly because the focus wasn't even on the eyes. The focus is slightly on, like, let's say the lip of the gorilla and a little bit on the eyebrows, or like whatever you call this. So yeah, I didn't necessarily think this could be a nice shot to continue working on, but here we are. I like it a lot. So boom, we got that one. Then we had this image that we worked on today. So the silverback when it was yawning. And so we see the before into the after. Then we had the silverback when it's kind of looking down, relaxing in a cone-shaped head. And here's the after within, Dehancer as well. And then this one turned out also very, very well, more than I expected. So just like a normal shot of one of the Rangers when he was resting. And then after putting it through all of the edits, we ended up with this kind of a look, which I like. And then this was from the other day. So yeah, there we go. We got through, 4 images, but that's okay progress for me. In addition to that, I got to test out this new IMAX aspect ratio. So I'm kind of excited to keep trying to capture some images in that IMAX mode. I wonder actually if I could do that with this shot. It should be possible. Let's see. So imagine if I duplicate this one. Could I create the 1.43? Of course I can. It doesn't cut off anything important. So just for shits and giggles, let's create this version. And then let me create one more copy of the original and make this 1.43. There we go. Cool. Wow. I'm happy with this. So we've added another IMAX photo, which will be part of that YouTube video eventually. Fed says we ordered another trip to Spain yesterday. Damn, okay. April 24th to 31st. So I'm filming the Feria de Mayo, which is a festival in May celebrating Andalusian culture. Oh, that sounds fantastic. I'm excited for you. Enjoy. This is going to be next year. Okay. All right, guys. Well, with all of that out of the way, it is now almost 11 p.m., which means this is where I will have to say my goodbyes. What is today? Wednesday. So tomorrow I'll be streaming again. What else is going to happen between that? I'm just continuing to work on some of these videos behind the scenes. So I hope you guys are excited. Just know I am committed to constantly creating content for my YouTube channel. I'm working on, I mentioned before, but I'm working on creating stuff for Instagram and like a repeatable format so I can consistently push out content in a short form format that will tie back to the live streams and my YouTube stuff. So look forward to that. I'm working on a few different travel projects and some other concepts, so I'll speak more on it when we can get to it. I'll be chatting with a few of you guys coming up soon as I prepare for my November trip to Kenya, where I'll be doing my very first wildlife live stream. And so look forward to that as well, because it's going to be very production heavy. We're going to, you know, a lot of thought's going to be put on this to kind of make sure it all works out fine with no hiccups or glitches. Yeah. All right. Anyways, thank you for a wonderful stream. Thanks to all the new people who've hopped in and subbed and, you know, was a part of the stream today. It was wonderful. My cat says thank you. Where's my cat? We only got one of my cats today, but that is what it is. All right. Have a good day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and I will see you on the next stream. Cheers.